Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone to this live stream, which is a very interesting collaborative effort that is between me at ChessBase India and with Qiyu Zhou, who is a WGM from Canada. And it's going to be a very exciting stream. I made a mistake already out of the opening, which was to schedule the stream 30 minutes in advance. So, we both come from different time zones in India, and she's in Canada. The difference in time zone is close to uh, 10 and half hours or something like that. And I scheduled it at 10. In fact, last week we had already scheduled this, and I missed the day. So today it was going to happen at noon Canadian time, and it is right now 11:40 in Canada. So there are 20 more minutes before Qiyu will join us. But I didn't want to keep you guys waiting, and so I decided to come live and tell you a bit about her so that we know. Now I have a request to all of you today, and the request is that if you look at this thing here up here, that's her YouTube account. She calls herself Nemo as well. And mods, if you would be kind, I would be very glad if today at the end of the stream she could reach 20,000 subscribers. That would be a great aim, because she's coming here to teach us 5 openings. Okay, so she's already going to teach us something very important, and would be very nice of you guys to subscribe to her channel. Of course, there's some very good quality content there as well. She is a very good streamer. She actually, on Twitch, she has 145,000 subscribers, so those are a lot. But on YouTube she has 18.7. so if you guys can do that, and if we can reach 20,000, wow, that would be amazing. Oh, already I see that we have reached 18,800. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you. And we'll go on as the stream goes on. Let's make it 20k, and that would be very cool. Now oh, followers on Twitch. Okay, there are not subscribers. Okay, she has 145,000 followers, says Raj Agarwal. Okay, fantastic. Now, who is she? So first of all, she's a WGM, so she's naturally very strong, very good player. But she's also the world under 14 champion at some point, maybe a few years ago. She won the under 14 world champions title, and she right now plays from the country Canada, under the Canada flag. And it's unbelievable that she is also having a double major. She's doing a double major in economics, which is kind of crazy. So she was in ChessBase office in Hamburg. Here you can see her. She's in the office here recording a DVD, and she was there and she recorded 2 of them. One was about openings and another one was about tactics. So that's how the setup is in Hamburg, and she was there and she recorded these things. And then later on I did the articles on them. There's this fundamental of chess tactics, so teaches about pins and forks and all double attacks and all of that. And then she also goes on to teach about the openings. That's another one. And you can get both of them. I've put the links in the description in case if anyone is interested, but you can wait for it. You can wait, you can join, you can learn from her on the stream, and then later on decide whether you want to get that or not. But so I did an interview with her, which I want to read out right now, and then you'll get to know more about her. So here is her interview. And the most amazing part about her is that, of course, she's a WGM and she's a very strong player and all of that, but she's also doing her double major in economics and statistics. So she's very, very smart, and also she's a streamer now, full-time streamer. So in fact, it would be very interesting to know how is she able to do so many things. uh, so first of all, let me just pull up this. So I had written the biggest two problems that every beginner faces in a game of chess are starting out right and not blundering pieces. Openings and tactics are truly the two most essential cornerstones of becoming better at chess, and there's no one better than WGM Qiyu. Her name starts from Q, but I think to pronounce it, you say Qiyu Zhou to be your trainer. Qiyu is not just a WGM and a former world under 14 champion. She's also doing her double major in economics and statistics with a minor in mathematics from the University of Toronto. Okay. Zhao is an intelligent and charming presenter, and if you are a beginner, then these two DVDs are just what you need for improving at chess. Okay, so basically this, and there's an interview with her, so I want to read out that. First, I asked, how was your experience of visiting Hamburg and recording DVDs for ChessBase? She says, I really enjoyed visiting Hamburg and recording the DVDs for ChessBase. It was my first time in Hamburg, and I spent about 2 weeks recording, exploring the city. I had a lot of fun being a tourist, canoeing the canals, and visiting the beautiful downtown area. I even caught up with an old classmate, visited the carnival. Recording the DVDs itself was an amazing experience, and I found it extremely satisfying to go back to my place after each day of recording because I felt like I had done great work. I asked her, how did you decide to record two DVDs? And she says, I believe that openings and tactics are the two most important things for beginners to learn, which is why I wanted to make sure I covered them. To get a successful start in a chess game, one needs to be able to get out of the openings and know when and how to take one's opponent's pieces. I'm definitely hoping to also record DVDs on all other important basic chess skills. Wow. What level of players would your lectures cater to? My DVDs are catered for the beginner level. These cover the basic skills necessary for winning in chess, and I believe they are very good introduction for the more advanced chess-based DVDs because they cover general material which is applicable to practically every game. I have written the topics you chose are so extensive and vast, like covering almost all openings and all the common tactical themes. Wasn't it too ambitious? She says, I think to make a good introduction for viewers to chess, it's necessary to cover as much material as I could in 2 week time frame I had in Hamburg. The fundamental of tactics DVDs was mostly fully planned out by the time I was recording it, but I definitely kept adding material as I went along because there's always one more theme of tactic that can happen in our games. I'm extremely happy and proud with the final outcome and hope that everyone uses the DVDs to improve the skills. What can people expect to learn if they bought these products? I formatted the DVDs so that users can expect to learn the most important skills one needs to start out in chess. Making the opening moves correctly and getting a decent middle game is important. Since it's very easy to get caught out in the opening, the most common mistake that many of who start out is losing material. I always like to say that the person with extra piece will win the game, which means therefore learning tactics and most importantly to be able to identify hanging pieces and how to protect your hanging pieces as well as how to capture your opponents will win you the game. Very nice, very nice. So that's very cool. And she did share one position here in the Spanish with d5, knight c4. By the way, we're going to talk about some openings. I want you guys to let me know in the comment section which openings you want to learn. Not that we're going to change. I think she's prepared something and it's going to be the thing. But could be interesting if you want to learn something and that is covered today. That would be so cool. By the way, she's written some fantastic articles on statistics on ChessBase. And tell us a bit about your education and what are you studying right now. I'm doing a double major in economics and statistics with a minor in mathematics. Writing articles for ChessBase definitely opened a new world for me as it introduced me to statistics. So I said you're brilliant in education, you're a WGM and under 14 world champion, you are also interested in social service and philanthropy. Tell us, how do you manage to balance all these? After winning the under 14 world championship, I prioritized high school over everything else. Of course, it's quite a challenge because I was still aiming for WGM at that time. But I believe now that I've accomplished everything I've set out to do in chess, keeping in mind I set the goal of becoming a world champion when I was 5. I have mostly put aside competitive play for now and I focus on completing my undergraduate degree. It's very difficult to balance everything while also having extracurriculars, which is why I focus on few things at a time and make clear what my priorities are. While I haven't played competitive tournaments much in the last few years, I've started teaching and streaming chess. At that point, she was not streaming extensively, but in the last year or so, like last 6 months, she's become very popular as a streamer. So we'll ask her about that. What is your future aim? Will you pursue chess actively or some other career? Currently, I want to become an investment banker. Oh, nice. And work in mergers and acquisition or take on a role of quantitative analyst in finance. However, choosing a career is less simple than starting what I wish to do, and I'm very open to everything. Maybe now she wants to be a streamer. Who knows? In these troubled times of coronavirus, what's your advice to all the budding chess players out there? I believe that it's very difficult to stay focused during these times, but if you are able to study with all your heart, because these might be one of those rarer periods in which you may have some extra time to study. However, I want to say that if one doesn't recognize immediate progress, there is no need to be disappointed. Living during these troubled times is difficult, and chess is also a difficult game. Very cool, very cool. So basically she has this openings and tactics, and it's very interesting that in the tactics section, in the opening section, she has an intro to development, intro to center, why you don't move the queen a million times, intro to king safety, don't neglect development. Wow, please develop. How do we get a strong center? IQP, another way of preventing castling, control of center, open games, fried liver attack, Italian games, Spanish, then Spanish, lot of videos on that, Caro-Kann, French, Sicilian, Dragon, Sveshnikov, Queen's Gambit Decline, Nimzo Indian. Wow. So basically, she's covered so many openings here. It's very cool. And so I told her that, we should do 5 openings today. And that is something that I wanted to, just learn from her. And also you guys can learn from her. And in her tactics DVD, there is Opry, then there's candidate moves, fork, pin, skewer, x-ray, discovered attack, discovered check, distraction, decoy, promotion, Greek gift, exchange sacrifice, trapped piece, backrank mate. Whoa, that's a lot of content there. You guys can check it out. Mods, if you can put the link for anyone who wants to get this, can do so, but I would recommend you to wait till the end of the episode and then go for it. Okay, cool. Well, we are just 7 minutes away from her joining in, and she should join in soon. Until then, let me talk to the chat. Who is here? Why is it called fried liver? I think some guy was drunk and went with the sack on f7 and it worked. Maybe. Usually these funny names just work somehow. I have never really researched why it's called the fried liver, but ever since I was a young kid, I was like, wow, fried liver is an interesting name. And I think that's how everyone gets interested. Oh, I haven't put on the slow mode. Okay, let me put on the slow mode. And what else are people writing? Let's see. Are you excited, guys, for this session? Send hearts. Oh, by the way, guys, how is the subscriber count doing? Let me see. Let me see. If Anish was right, then people just keep on rotating and keep changing. Oh, guys, you made it 18.9. Cool. Let's make it 19K before she comes. And then we can, the aim is to reach 20K. That would be so cool. Oh, yes, Levon Aronian moving to the US. I was doing this article, and this is such a big news. I mean, Levon Aronian representing Armenia, one of the best players of his country. In fact, I even always keep thinking that the amount of fame Sachin Tendulkar has in India is the same fame that Aronian has in Armenia. Like, if he walks out on the streets, people would know him. That's how famous he is. And him deciding to go to the US, it's a big decision. Of course, Rex Sinkerfield invited him, who is a big industrialist. He's an entrepreneur, but also a chess lover. And he invited him to St. Louis. And he had this offer for many years, but finally he took it. And also in his post on Facebook, Aronian says that he was not happy with the situation in his country, with the government changing and not supporting chess. So yeah, very interesting. But think about it. US team now has Fabiano Caruana, Wesley So, Levon Aronian, Hikaru Nakamura, and Lenier Dominguez. What a team. My God. It's an amazing team. Kishore ji, nice shirt, Sagar. Thank you. Anish for India. Yeah, I saw when Anish streamed. I think today was his last stream before candidates. All of you were spamming Anish for India. That was nice. Sam Jobs says good decision. I don't know about how good or bad the decision is, but yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. It'll change things. I mean, Levon playing from US. I've seen his posts on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, and he's so close to Armenia. This decision must not have been easy for him. Yeah. Sam Shankland is basically now, yeah, he's no longer in the US team, I think, after this Aronian comes. So basically, if you think about it, Nakamura is the only sort of player who's born and brought up. Of course, Caruana as well from the US, but he was in Italy for a long time when he was growing up. Then, of course, Wesley So was in the Philippines, and Dominguez was from Cuba. So yeah. No, I think Garvit, he can play immediately for the US. Basically, there's some transfer fee that has to be given, and I think Rex Sinkerfield would take care of that, and I think he'll start playing for the US very soon. Okay. Let's see. Let me see how much you guys know about certain openings till Nemo arrives. Or okay, Jeffrey Ziong is also 2700 plus. Yes, true. Yeah, Jeffrey Ziong is a strong player, but still, I would say, like, in front of these world class players, he yet has to improve quite a bit. So, keeping in track with today's theme, let's look at some opening like e4, e5, and as we were discussing fried liver, let's look at it. Bishop c4, knight to f6. Okay, and so knight f6, and here what is the move? Indrajit Patil says Finding Nemo. Yeah, nice movie. What is the best move for white here? Oh, Nihal and Harika versus Karpov story. Oh, I need to check it out. What move leads to the fried liver? Yeah, exactly, guys. Fantastic. Knight g5. So you attack here on f7. Okay, and you want to checkmate. I mean, you want to take on f7 and then fork these two pieces. So what does black do now? Let's see. Let's see. What does black do? Jagmeet Singh says day starts with chess stream with Sagar and day ends with chess stream with Sagar. What a life. Thank you, Jagmeet. It's very nice that you enjoy it. Yes, d5. Absolutely. You are right. Suppose I take here, and the main move here for black is knight a5, and it's a very interesting move. But knight takes d5 is very natural because you kind of block this bishop and you attack the knight. So what's the move here? Guest is coming, guys. Guest is coming. I think now it's already time, but she'll join in. Okay, guys. I think we'll have to leave the fried liver attack a little bit unfried for now because uh, Qiyu will join us, and let's invite her.
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Hi. Hi.
I'm sorry. Wait, what time is it in India right now?
It's 10:30 p.m.
Oh, okay. That's so weird. So it's currently noon. I guess there's like a 10.5 hour.
Yeah, exactly. I think, I one second. First of all, let me get you on the screen. I'm already
Okay.
live, by the way.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I haven't gone live yet, actually.
Oh, you can take your time.
Yeah, it's so late there too. My apologies for that.
No, I mean, it's a lot of people are here. They're excited for this. And yeah, you can.
Okay, I'm gonna go live here. I just muted myself in my. Oh, they'll be able to hear you, but it's fine.
Should I mute myself?
No. It's okay. It's okay. I'm just gonna mute everything. There just won't be music when I go live. It's totally chill. Yeah, they don't. My stream doesn't care anyways. Okay. I'll make like my Twitter announcements and stuff. Okay.
You set?
Okay. Give me 1 second. Yeah, just give me like a few minutes and I'll be live on my side.
Right. You can take your time. But I can speak to my chat.
Yeah,
right?
go ahead. Yeah,
okay,
of course.
Okay.
No
Cool.
worries. Yeah.
Cool. Oh, by the way, we have a plan today to
Yeah,
make sure that
okay.
you reach 20,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Oh!
And so you already reached 19,000 from 18,700. So
Wait, you are awesome. Thank you guys so much. What the heck?
So
thank you.
So while we are going through the openings, that's the plan. That we'll reach there.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Yeah, my YouTube channel is like a mix of my variety content.
But
so
there is chess, right?
Yeah, there is chess too. There's a lot of chess. Actually, like I think I alternate between posting like serious chess and then something like really funny or like kind of dumb. Whatever people like to watch. Let me go to my mood bot to add the command actually. So how are things going? I mean, we've connected before for sure, but I think
Yeah,
this is my first time calling you.
this is
Like,
the first
like
time
we've
we are
had,
talking in voice. I think we have exchanged emails several times,
yes.
but this is the
Mhm.
first time we are speaking. Yeah, I mean, I've been noticing some of your work right from the times you were writing for ChessBase and was thoroughly impressed,
Oh,
with
yes.
all the
Yeah.
articles.
Thank you.
So, and then when you did these two huge DVDs for ChessBase, which were on
Mhm.
openings and tactics, that was super interesting. And this is very natural that now you are here and
Yeah, I mean, I'm really happy because I've seen you at tournaments, but we've never had the chance to like connect.
at the
So,
Olympiad, if you remember, at
yes.
Batumi, you were
Yeah,
playing
I
there.
do remember. Yes, that was the
2018.
last Olympiad there ever was, right? Because we're still in 2021 with the quarantine going on.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's honestly been a while since anybody has really met
Yeah.
each other.
But I was reading through your interview a few minutes
Mhm.
ago, and you were writing like, I want to be an investment banker and
Oh,
all
that
of.
was such a long time ago now. Now everything has changed. Like, oh, let me actually go live with this conversation.
Right.
Okay. All right. So hello to my stream. And this is Sagar. We were just talking about how he read through my interviews on ChessBase and we're like, oh yeah, you wanted to be an investment banker. And I'm just here like, ooh, I just like had to go live with this conversation because it was just so funny because my whole stream has kind of followed me. Like when I first started streaming, I was like, okay, let me, you know, streaming is like a secondary thing to me.
Hmm.
And then after like a couple of like actually after a couple of months, I think as I got into like November of last year, I was like, I kind of want to take streaming full time. And actually earlier this month, I completely dropped school. So
Really?
yeah, I dropped school now.
Wow. So
So
when I wrote this article, it was like she's doing a double major in economics and
mhm,
statistics and a minor in mathematics, right? That was
yes.
what was happening at the University of Toronto. That's what
Yes.
I read it out to my chat. And you're saying now you dropped completely.
Yes, I did. I'm
Wow.
sorry. I'm sorry for baiting people.
No, there's no need to be sorry, but how did this entire change happen?
I mean, I just streaming is awesome.
So you're like
Um,
you're like a full-time streamer now.
yeah, I'm a full-time streamer now. I mean, content creator, just really trying to grow on every platform there is. I suppose I don't even know what it means to be a full-time content creator because, there are people who've been doing this for years and years and years, right? And they have like, they've built up a huge YouTube following or a huge Twitch following, but I'm just here like, yeah, I think I'll just take the leap to going full-time with content creating. Like, it's gonna be a good time. So
No, but that's a very
honestly,
brave decision, I must say. I mean, I don't know how it is in Canada, but at
mhm,
least in India, it's like if you take such a decision, you are always very careful, and the parents are like,
yes.
"Oh, are you sure? Do you want to do this?"
I mean, I'm Chinese. Like my parents are Chinese, right? But I grew up in Europe, so it's always a little bit weird. But like I don't know. Obviously my mom wasn't too happy with it, but I think at the end of the day, it's my choice, so it's okay. It's all
Yeah,
right.
yeah, absolutely. And I also read that you are now streaming for Team Envy. What does that mean? Can you
Oh,
tell us a bit
that's
about that?
Boda's live. They streaming for Team Envy. I stream for Counter
Ah,
Logic
sorry,
Gaming.
sorry.
Mhm.
Which one is it?
Counter Logic Gaming.
Counter Logic. Okay.
Do you follow any League of Legends?
No, I haven't. In fact, I saw one stream of yours where you were playing poker, and I was like, "Wow, this is very interesting."
Oh yeah. Okay. So
So
I mean League of
yeah.
Legends is just like a video game that my org is heavily involved in. Yeah.
So you're very good at it.
I'm personally not that good at it. Like I am not great at it, but I like playing it a lot and it is something that like my org has a competitive team in League of Legends that plays in North America. I mean, explaining the whole thing is just, it's complicated, but just know it's a multi-million
No,
league.
I have seen this series, or there's one movie on, I think, Netflix, or on Netflix, I think 1 hour long, where they talk about how League of Legends became so big and people used to go and watch in the stadiums and all of that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I
exactly.
know about it, but I don't know how to play it. I know that it's a big
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, no worries at all. I mean, it is a very big thing. My org is actually, I think they've had only one win this season, so it's not going too well for us. But it's totally fine. We're still in the league. It's franchise, thankfully, so there's no way we can get relegated, I hope. But yeah, I mean, it is honestly a pretty good time, and there's just like a lot of, with esports teams and everything, it's just like they have content creators, they have professional like players. So we also have Smash players, Smash Bros. We have Fortnite. I think we have a pro Fortnite team as well. Yeah, so it's just like, I think for Team Envy, they focus more on first person shooters. So I'm pretty sure they have a Call of Duty team. I think they have like they focus a lot more on the first person shooters. So there is basically like, they just have a lot of people kind of with them, and everybody does their own thing, but it's like a fun environment because we can talk to each other and like bounce content ideas, and we can do content together. So it's a bit like being on a team. Like, how chess doesn't really have teams per se.
Yeah.
So some individual sports don't really have, like, they have teams, but it's always nice to be part of something bigger, right? Kind of like for League of Legends, I mean, it's a 5-person team, so it's always awesome. And not only is it a 5-person team, they have like coaches, they have another sub team, like they just have so many people. And for a lot of streamers, it's kind of like we're kind of alone, especially as chess streamers. I think like, chess players, we're always kind of alone. So I think for me, at least, it's been a really positive experience.
Also, like, you can always collaborate with each other and keep growing, and I think it's a great thing for you. I have a super chat from Kishore Hazarika, who says, "Nice shirt, Sagar." Thank you, Kishore. He says, "I discovered Nemo." Do I call you Nemo?
Yeah, Nemo is good. Yes.
Okay. Nemo through Bote's sisters, where she used to stream. I think that's super cool of Bote's sisters. She was super funny, which people enjoyed. Eventually, her starting of her own Twitch.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I mean, I definitely have, like, honestly, like, my streaming career, everything was from Voda's Live, because I never knew about streaming. I never knew about Twitch.
You were going to be a double major.
Yeah, I was gonna be a double major, and then Alex was just like, "Hey, you want to stream?" And I'm like, "Okay," because this was at the start of the pandemic, right? So like, I had nothing to do. So I was just like, "Yeah, let's do it." And then all of a sudden, I became a streamer, and I'm like, "Okay, well, I guess I could just drop out of school now." So yeah,
Great.
that's how this whole thing
Very
started.
brave decision. And Funny Verma asks a question to you. I mean, we'll start soon, but there's a very interesting question. He says, Nemo, what's the secret of becoming under 10 Finland champion at the age of 5? And also under 14 world champion? And what are your favorite books and chess DVDs?
Well, okay, so this is a perfect time to say that my favorite DVDs are my own, the ones that I released with ChessBase. So if you want to check out any courses, you can do command courses on my stream. And also, I'm sure Sagar has a command on his stream as well. But honestly, I think like winning national championships, all that, it's all about just putting in the effort, I think. I mean, even when I was 5.
You were 5 when you won the under 10, yes?
Yeah, under 5. I was 5 when I won the other day. I mean, it's just I don't even know how to describe it. Like, they were just not as good as me, I guess. Like, it's not like I had played chess for years. When I was 5 years old, I played chess for like a year and a half, but I was just better. So sometimes that's all it takes.
But yeah, you started at what, 3 years of age?
Yeah, mostly 3 years and like 10 months. Yes.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's very young. And then you became the under 14 world champion as well.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yes.
was
So
not easy, right?
that was much later, obviously. I mean, I think when I won national championships when I was 5, I said that I wanted to become world champion, and I just kept working towards that goal. And it took me a really long time to get to that goal, but it's okay. It's fine. Sometimes some goals are like lifelong goals,
Yeah, yeah. And now you're not playing chess anymore, right? I mean, you
Mhm.
will play a few tournaments here and there, but no longer as a very serious player.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still undecided a little bit because I kind of want to go for my international master title.
Uh-huh.
But I think I actually had this conversation with one of my friends the other day about how maybe it's not the best idea to set goals, and it's all about just hitting a spot in life in which you're comfortable.
Mm.
And I think having not played chess for like 3-4 years, like competitive chess for 3-4 years now, I'm not gonna say I'm like unhappy with my level of gameplay, but I definitely think I could be better. Like, I mean, obviously I was better before, right? So I think for me, setting this goal of IM is more just about me feeling better about my own chess. So that's kind of like how I'm treating it. Like, I'm back to getting coaching. I'm back to
Oh,
analyzing openings. I'm playing
really?
matches. Yeah, I played a match against Eric Rosen the other day. Um,
How did you fare?
yes. Pardon?
How did you fare?
I fared okay. It was 10 and a
Bec-
half to 3.5 in Blitz.
because I also lost to him very recently. You were one of the commentators,
Oh,
remember?
right. I remember this. I actually remember this. Wow, the iron. Oh, yes, I do remember this. You were getting good positions, but just he's so tricky.
Right.
He's just incredibly tricky. I love playing against him because it provides really interesting game content, like
Exactly.
it just looks super different. So, Eric is definitely somebody I really enjoy playing, and it was really fun actually to play against him. But I think I didn't do as well as you did. I think I got 10 and a half. He got 10 and a half to 3.5 in Blitz, and then in Bullet it was 15 to 6
Oh,
or
that's
something
pretty
like
good.
that.
That's
Yeah,
wonderful.
so it wasn't like super close, but I actually had matched him 3 months earlier, and it went up from there. So honestly, it's all about just making progress, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's amazing, and I think the fact that you're coming back to chess is very inspiring in a way. So, within like 8 months, your life has completely changed, and you're now into gaming, chess, and all of it. It's very, very nice.
Yeah.
Very bold. So, what's the plan for today? And there are a lot of people who want to learn certain openings.
Mhm.
I have titled my stream as learning 5 important openings from
Ooh,
Nemo.
I was gonna say 5 is like a lot of openings to cover,
So we'll make it 3 maybe or 2, whatever you
Yeah,
say.
or we can go through them faster. I don't think I want to go into like 20 moves of
Sure.
Spanish theory because that is way too much. I think I always like to when I'm teaching beginners, right? I think it's a lot more fun to just look at the ideas and the openings
Hmm.
and not so much the lines, because I think a lot of coaches emphasize on lines, and I mean obviously it's fair, right? Because once you get to a higher level, all the opening ideas, you start looking at the lines and like more in depth. But I like to structure it in a way that I'm teaching you more the opening concepts. Like, for example, if let's start off with the Spanish. This is one I'm most comfortable with. So if I mess up anything else, just remember I can do the Spanish. It is my main opening. Also, sorry, before we go into that, let me actually make the tweet on my Twitter.
Sure, sure.
Um,
Meanwhile, Calisthenics Wade says, awesome to see Nemo here. I'm really hoping to see Daniel Naroditsky on Grandmaster Chess as well. Keep up the good work, Sagar. Yeah, thank you so much, Calisthenics.
wait, you have a Twitter, right? I can tag you on Twitter as
Yeah,
well.
you can also tag ChessBase India.
Okay.
I'll retweet it.
Wait, what's
Oh,
your
nice,
Twitter?
Keith. Thank you for putting in Nemo's channel, guys. Our aim today is to make sure Nemo reaches 20,000 on YouTube, um, which is Very, very. I mean, now actually, I'm going to follow more of her content now that I know that she's not going to pursue her double major. Because I was like, okay, this is something she's doing just for some time now in the lockdown, and when everything starts again, this is all going to stop. But no, that's not going to happen. So,
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Actually, if some people are confused, I have a really large Polish following as well, which is why a lot of my YouTube content is actually in Polish.
oh,
So
why? But you made a tweet as well that day. Your mother was wondering why you're speaking in Polish or
oh
something like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what's the story behind that?
The story behind that is just a lot of my friends are actually Polish, and
Ah.
they basically gave me a raid and I got to meet them, and then there's like all of the people came as well, and it's really awesome. It's really wholesome. There's just a lot of Polish people on the channel now. Now I'm like learning Polish, I'm learning about like the culture and everything. And I'm also like, doing like Polish geoguesser, and like I'm planning a trip to Poland this summer. So it's really become a full-blown thing. So it's really, really cool.
Well, in case you start getting some Indian followers, I think you'll start learning Hindi, and then you
I
may come
have
to.
learned Hindi.
Really?
My ex-boyfriend is Indian. He's from he's from Mumbai, so Bombay.
Really?
Yeah, so
I live in
I
Mumbai.
eat Indian dishes all the time. I have so much protein. Like I was having samosa chaat yesterday. The day before that, I was having butter chicken roti. Before last week, I was having dosa. I was having
Oh,
medu vada. I was
wow.
having like I know way too much about Indian like foods and cultures. He also forced me to watch like so many Hindi movies, not even like on Netflix.
Which one? Which
cinema.
one is your favorite?
Badla. Badla is so good. I watched Badla on the big screen in the cinema. Like in Toronto. In Toronto, I watched Badla in the cinema. So like I know a lot of Indian culture. Yeah.
Oh, very nice. Can you say something in Hindi?
I only know swear, so you don't want to hear me say anything.
Okay.
I only got taught the swears.
Okay, we'll skip that. We'll skip that.
We'll skip that.
Maybe you'll do it off stream. You can tell.
Yeah, I'll do it off stream. I only learned the swears. It's the only thing I remember. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah, this is great to know that you're so close to India and the culture, and you know a lot of things about it. I mean, samosa chat is going on in the chat right now. They are all very happy.
Yeah, samosa chat is so good. It's so good for you.
Amazing.
But yeah, I mean, I am pretty familiar with a lot of like different cultures, so it's always awesome to see new people in the channel. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, okay, so let's get started with the Spanish.
Yeah, I have bishop b5 on the board.
Okay, you have bishop b5 on the board already. Okay. Bishop b5, I mean, obviously there's main move is a6, right? Do you have a preference for which line of the Spanish you play? Because there's also f5, there's also, knight f6, which people want to go to the Berlin. That's the one I hate the most. If people play knight f6, I usually just play d3 because I'm like, I don't want to learn a whole new set of openings. Yeah.
So you mean that if castles instead of d3, then you go into this mainline stuff after knight e4 and this endgame, Berlin endgame, which you don't want to get into.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Berlin endgames. I mean, part of the reason is because I never really learned it. Do you ever play the Berlin or play into the Berlin?
No. I'm not an e4 player, but although I play e5 with black, but I play a6 instead of knight f6. Yeah, like in this position, I do go a6.
Good choice, right? I mean, I think it's a lot better for beginners to not go into endgame straight away, because this is more of like knight to f6, and then after castle, knight takes e4. The Berlin is more for grandmasters who have played, thousands and thousands of endgames before. Like even I would struggle in these Berlin style endgames because it's just not quite what you want. Like it's really not what usually beginners are looking for, because you haven't learned endgames yet. So
right,
I do think that it's much more useful to look at a6, and I believe that's also what I cover in my DVDs, because these positions are going to be the core of the Spanish. And for those of you who are coming in and don't know what the Spanish is, it's also called the Ruy Lopez. It's one of the oldest openings in chess. Pretty cool opening.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, Nemo, I just want to tell you that from the thumbnail that I have made and I also sent you.
Yeah.
I'm like a student today, right? So I'm not an IM or stuff like that. I
You're
want to
not
learn.
at
Yeah. I want to learn from you, and you have to ask questions, and you can ask questions to the chat, and basically
Okay.
just treat me as some sort of a beginner or an amateur player, so that we all can learn a lot from this.
I think this is going to be the most difficult part because there's no way I can talk to you like you are an amateur. There is absolutely no way I could do that.
Because the thing is, there's so many people here who would benefit from you sort of kind of making it like a simple sort of lines and all of that. Of course, there are also strong players, but I'm also very keen to learn a few things from this.
Okay.
Because, so that's the plan.
All right. Okay, so here. All right, guys. Well, I mean, I assume everybody should know the first like 9 moves of the Spanish. It's quite an intuitive opening. All right, here. Would you ever take on e4?
After bishop a4?
Bishop a4, knight to f6, short castle.
Knight takes e4.
Yeah, knight takes e4. So the main reason that I don't advise beginners to play knight takes e4 kind of goes back to the same thing as the Berlin, right? After knight takes e4, move 6, rook e1. Well, no, not move 6, rook e1. You play e4, d4 first. Move 6, d4. And after move b5 by black, you go bishop to b3, and then black has to play d5, and you start getting into this position where you have to remember a lot of moves, and I just don't advise this for
this is the open Ruy Lopez, right?
Yes, it's the open Ruy Lopez, but just like how these sidelines have a lot of variations, if you are going to play the open Ruy Lopez, you better know what you're doing, because after d5, d takes e5, you can see that you're getting this position, which is not symmetrical. And for people who are a bit newer to chess, I think playing any opening in which the pawn structure is already not symmetrical in the opening is going to become quite complicated. And basically what happens is that you have to play quite accurately as black. So for example, on move 8, you pretty much have to play bishop to e6, right? To defend that d5 pawn.
Absolutely.
White's going to play something like c3 or knight to b2. It's more or less the same. They always transpose. So c3, bishop to c5. White plays knight to d2 usually. And black has to play castling. And then white plays bishop to c2. And then there are lines with knight takes f2, which is the best line. You can also play bishop to f5, but then the position becomes a little bit passive for black because white will play on move 12, knight to b3, and then knight to d4. So basically, if on move 11, you're kind of forced to play knight takes f2, on move 12, this becomes really complex, right? And I just don't usually advise beginners to be going into these kind of, I don't advise black to be playing into these kind of openings where they have to memorize a bunch of different lines if they're newer to chess, because that kind of takes the fun out of chess.
But what is this knight takes f2? Because if I just take it with the rook, it's like 2 pieces for a rook, right? And it's supposed to be good for white there?
It should be good for white, but the idea is that you get 2 pieces for the rook and a pawn, and on top of it, white's king is a little bit unsafe. So it's actually playable for black. I mean, the idea now, right? If you've sacrificed a bit of material, what do you have to do immediately?
Go for some concrete play?
Go for some concrete play. Exactly. You have to start the attack. You have to go for concrete play. And then this is the part where black has to play f6 because you want to get your rook out. You want to start attacking white's king. So the main issue in these kind of positions is that if you're newer, you might not know a move specifically like f6, right? Like it's quite a difficult move to find. You'd be like, okay, how am I going to, continue my attack? I can't really bring my queen out or anything, but you have to play f6. You're undermining white's center, and you're going to be bringing your rook out into the attack.
Nice.
So
Nice. Amazing.
that is very, very, very important when it comes to playing these kind of structures, which is why let's go all the way back to move
Five.
move 5. Yeah, instead of knight takes e4. Yeah, so instead of knight takes e4, which I don't recommend to beginners, let's go with b5, right? One of the most concrete lines of the Spanish. Okay, and after bishop to b3, which is obviously forced, now most moves are kind of the same. Where would you put your bishop from f8?
I was I love to play bishop e7 in such positions, but I guess already knowing the kind, like just talking with you for a few minutes, I feel that you are a very aggressive player and you're going to put your bishop on c5.
I'm an aggressive player. Okay, I mean, I'm aggressive, but I actually usually play bishop d7. But bishop to c5 is also very playable. Yeah. So I mean, the difference in these lines, right, is bishop to c5 is indeed a little bit more aggressive. Bishop to e7, however, I think gives black a lot more flexibility a bit later.
Okay.
So let's take a look at bishop to c5 first. Here, white, the idea for these openings is always to control the center. Every single game you play, every single opening, it's always to control the center, develop your pieces, all of that stuff. If you're doing, anything else, you probably need to consider a little bit about what your goals are. So after bishop to c5, white can play pawn to a4, you can play c3. All these moves are very, very possible. Okay, so let's go with c3. I think c3 is one of the most common. All right, so what's the idea of a move like c3 then for white? Well, you want to just be able to retreat your bishop to c2 someday, and at the same time, you want to be able to threaten d4. So this is something that, it's quite aggressive, right? I think
it seems very risky somehow, because d4 comes with a tempo, and I have never really understood these lines, because white later goes a4, then takes on b5, and then puts his knight on a3, and they are so complicated with black's bishop coming to g4. All of this is just too much.
It definitely is. This is definitely the more aggressive Spanish line. And I do think bishop c5 is just one of those moves that, once again, gotta know what you're doing.
Right. So bishop e7 is what you recommend, yeah?
Yes, I would recommend bishop to e7. I think just not walking to this idea of c3 d4 for white with a tempo is a lot more solid for black. So after bishop to e7, the most common move is going to be rook to e1, just defending the pawn on e4.
Yeah.
And, black usually plays d6. After d6, white plays c3. There's short castle.
Because after d6, I think the main threat is knight a5, right? Because once you protected the e5 pawn, then this bishop can be attacked, and if white loses that b3 bishop, it's going to be a big problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely very, very difficult to play the game if you lose your light squared bishop. So this is actually a really good point. Thank you for bringing up. It just comes so automatically, like the whole sequence of Spanish moves, because you play the same moves. But yes, it is very important to know when to play c3 and when to play h3. You play c3 when they threaten knight to a5, and that's usually after d6 has been played, because d6 protects the e5 pawn. So now the knight from c6 is actually allowed to move away. So this is very important. So you gotta play c3. All right, so move 8, black castles, and this is the part where white plays pawn to h3. And why do we play pawn to h3? What do you think?
Okay, let me ask my chat. Guys, why do you think
chat.
that pawn to h3 is played in such a position? This is actually very, very important what Nemo is just showing, because if you learn the Ruy Lopez, I think, as Gary Kasparov used to say, there are certain openings which just improve your understanding of chess. And two
Mm-hmm.
of them are Ruy Lopez and Queen's Gambit declined, because these are the openings for world championships.
For sure.
A lot of people are saying to prevent the pin on the bishop, uh, I mean the bishop coming to g4, to avoid the pin.
Yeah, this is exactly correct. We are stopping bishop to g4. Good job, chat. So the point of this is to obviously stop bishop g4, but why is it important to stop bishop g4? Because you can play moves, but like, what is the purpose? Like, why do you worry about bishop g4? All right, guys, time to do a little bit of thinking here.
Why would bishop g4 be a dangerous move? Yeah, that's a nice question.
Yeah, because you can always kick it out later too, right? But why do you want to stop the bishop entirely from going to g4?
Improve center control, to prepare d4 and avoid bishop g4. To play d4. So they say if I push d4, it becomes a weakness, and my knight is needed to defend the d4 pawn.
Exactly, that's entirely correct. Somebody in my chat, however, asked us why not play bishop g4 on the previous move,
Nice.
instead of short castle. So let's go back actually a move onto move 8 and see what happens if black plays bishop to g4.
This is the same question I asked my coach when I was like 10 years old, and he told me that you have to play like castles and then h3. And I was like, but I could have done that on the previous move as well.
What was his response to that? I want to hear the story.
Okay, so the thing is that you want to play d4, but if you haven't pushed the pawn to d4, then white is going to play d3 here. And then if black castles, after bishop g4 d3 castles, knight d2, and your plan is to put your knight on f1, then go to g3, and eventually just play h3. And the black bishop has to either take on f3, because if it goes to h5, my knight will take it, or it has to move back, and then this bishop g4 idea didn't really work out.
Exactly. And something on top of it is, if you're really aggressive and they do this, you actually get a free move with h3. And like once your knight goes to f1, so for example, let's make a few more moves. Black can play like knight to a5 on move 10, bishop c2, c5, for example. You can play h3, bishop to h5. You can play knight to f1. They'll play like knights back to c6. And then on move 14, all of a sudden, you can play a move like g4.
Whoa.
And the idea that a move like g4 works now, well, it usually always works. But the idea of why g4 is so strong with your knight on f1 is after bishop to g6 on move 14, you can play knight to g3. And black no longer has this idea with h5. And like this whole position starts crumbling for black because white has such a strong attack happening. You can see all of the knights aimed right at black's king, and the pawns are also kind of being pushed up the board, right? So
yeah, and it's like you have this pawns on h3 g4. Your knight can jump to f5 when required, and it's a very nice position for white.
Exactly. But how old were you when you were asking your coach why not just play bishop g4 move 8 instead of castling?
I remember I was like around 12 or something like that, because I started playing chess when I was 11 and 12 or 13 years old. And the Ruy Lopez always felt, the opening felt like, these boxes fitting into, like, you play h3, then black does something, he attacks your bishop, then you bring your bishop back to c2. It's always like every move has a reason behind it.
Yes. And for everyone asking how is an FM teaching an IM? Well, the thing is, guys, we're kind of more like conversing about these openings. So
no, and also, the thing is that there are certain openings which any player can be better than someone. Like, I'm sure that the chat can be better at certain openings, if you have studied
Chat
them.
is awesome at Bong Cloud. They know more about the Bong Cloud than I do. Right, chat? if chat was going to be an expert in an opening, it's going to be the Bong Cloud.
I don't know how you can survive that opening. I mean, it's amazing. It's so difficult. I think Hikaru does that a lot. Do you also play the Bong Cloud?
No, never. It's just every time I lose I play the Bong Cloud, even against 1600s, I'm losing. I'm like, how does Hikaru do this against like 2700s? I win, you know? So I just don't understand.
But it's good for no castling chess. Yeah, if your opponent is also not going to castle, then
Yes.
it's okay to play the Bong Cloud.
Yeah, if both of you guys. So the thing is, I think the convention is that if you Bong Cloud, your opponent has the Bong Cloud too, right? Like it's an honor code at this point. If one player does the Bong Cloud, the other has to do it. So honestly, guys, look. I mean, I'm sure Sagar knows the Spanish pretty well already, but we are bringing this content to you so you can learn a little bit more about the Spanish.
Yeah, and also, I mean, for me, it's always about fine tuning these little things. Like, for example, when Nemo spoke about this bishop c5 line, when you play knight e4 and this line with bishop c5, knight takes f2 and taking on f2 twice, then followed by f6. I didn't know it, and I think,
you didn't know that? Okay,
yes, I didn't know it. And so the thing is, even if you guys can learn something like a couple of new ideas from this can really help you in your tournaments, you know. So this is amazing.
I mean, I'm basically a Spanish one trick, so that's why I chose to start with this opening, because I have the most knowledge about this opening.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. By the way, guys in the chat, all those who are just joining in, please make sure that you subscribe to Nemo's channel on YouTube. She has reached 19,400 and our aim is to reach 20K. So
thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah, there's a lot of variety content on that channel too. So if you like a lot of other stuff, perfect.
Yeah. Cool. Let's go.
All right, so I'll move it. Let's go back to short castle. We just explained why bishop g4 is not good. However, white does play h3 here in order to prepare this d4. So after h3, there are so many choices here for black. Okay, what do you think is the most intuitive?
I play one line, so I know what's my favorite here. But the most natural move seems like knight a5, no? To attack the bishop.
Knight to a5. Okay. So knight to a5 is definitely very reasonable. This is the old main line. It is the Chigorin. I think it's been around for like centuries, quite literally. And after knight to a5, well, we know in the Spanish that we want to keep this light squared bishop because this light squared bishop is really important for attacking. So I want to go bishop to c2, and then after bishop to c2, how are you going to continue here?
C5?
Yep, c5 is good, and the idea of c5 is to what?
To get your knight back to c6 with the c pawn advanced. Is that true, or maybe to control the center?
Yeah, it's to control the center. Also to just be able to get a little bit more space and just be able to also retreat the knight to c6 without blocking your c pawn. So here white responds usually immediately with d4. Playing d3 is also possible, but d4 is probably the most the best way for white to play, especially if you're trying to play Spanish as white for a win. And for black here, the main move is going to be queen to c7.
So does that mean that with queen c7 you want to keep the pawn on e5 defended? You really don't want to be taking on d4, right?
Yes. So so after if black takes on d4, if black plays move 11, c takes d4, then there is c takes d4. And after here, I mean, it's not awful entirely. I can't say it's awful, but you definitely do not want to play e takes d4. Because after e takes d4, move 13, knight takes d4. Well, take a look at black's position. What weakness do you have, Sagar?
Wow, this is so much fun because I keep asking my chat all the time what weakness is there in the position. Now this is coming to me.
Yeah, it's coming to you.
Is it d5 a weak square, and also c6 looks like a very juicy weakness.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so d6 is also going to be a big
Yeah,
weakness,
of
right?
course, d6 pawn. Yeah.
Yeah, the d6 pawn. I mean, d5 is going to become an outpost for one of your pieces. You can bring your knight in from knight to c3, and then you can put your knight onto d5 at some point. f5 could potentially be weak. The d6 pawn is a backwards pawn. Well, it's not a backwards pawn. It's actually just a straight isolated pawn. So that's really, the d6 pawn is gonna be attacked all the time. So that's why in the Spanish you don't want to be taking on d4.
Nice. Amazing. Okay. So queen c7.
Yeah, we'll go queen c7 on move 11 in order to control the center, right?
Right.
And we just want to protect this e5 pawn, make sure it doesn't get taken. All right, here, have you seen d5? d5 is my favorite move.
Why? But
okay, so the idea of d5, right? If you're trying to attack your opponent, what is the condition that the center needs to be in?
Closed.
Yes, it needs to be closed. Exactly. So d5 means that white wants to go for this idea with knight to d2, knight to f1, play g4, and then knight to g3. So we have some really, just exciting ideas coming out here for white. I mean, it doesn't always work because the hope is that black is actually doing something in the meantime while white tries to set up the attack. But d5 is a pretty, it's pretty solid.
So you like this idea of putting your pawn on g4 and getting your knight to g3, yeah, for this attack. Okay.
Yeah, it's an idea you have, but you might not play it, right? You always have these plans. You always think about whether or not you can play knight to d2, knight to f1, knight to e3, or knight to g3, knight to f5. Like this knight, the most important thing in the Spanish, if you have to remember one thing, is that the knight from the queen side goes to the king side. Yeah.
But I have one question here. So when on move number 12 you push pawn to d5, isn't it said that if black had his bishop on b7, then d5 would make a lot more sense because the bishop would be closed. Now that the bishop is still on c8 and you push d5, the bishop is still very well placed on c8, could go to d7.
Yeah, this is true. d5 is it's a personal line that I like because I get the attack, but this is very true. Usually you want to be playing d5. If the bishop's already on b7, the idea behind that is then the bishop would just be facing a wall of pawns, right? But sadly, we can't have everything live. So for everything that you want to do, there's always some kind of concession. So, if you play d5 here, you just want to go for that kind of kingside attack. If you don't play d5, that's totally fine too. White here can actually play knight to d2. You don't have to play d5. And you're keeping a move like knight d2 just keeps the center a little bit more, what's the word for this? Tensed? Keeps it a little bit more tense.
Yeah, there's a lot of tension in the center. Yeah. Flexible.
Yeah, a lot of tension in the center. Pardon?
Flexible, maybe.
Yeah, flexible. Fluid. Yeah, a lot of words. English is a hard language. Yeah. So here, I mean, there's like.
What do you call it in Hindi? I would say it's called. Yeah, can help. Guys, what do you call flexible in Hindi?
Yeah, what is flexible in Hindi? I mean, I honestly do not know enough Hindi for this, so.
My chat is going to now make me say something stupid. They'll give me. What? Oh, lachila. Oh, I didn't know this.
Lachila. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, chatter experts.
Oh, lachila. Oh, so many people know it. Oh my God. Really? Never heard of this word, lachila. I think you can try this out. Yeah. When someone is very flexible, you can say lachila. Okay.
Okay, wait a
QD2.
minute. I actually accidentally froze your Zoom. Okay, there we go. Give me 1 second to fix the overlay. Okay, it worked. Yeah. So I do think that keeping the center tense is sometimes like a good thing. I mean, it really does end up being personal choice, but you can most definitely play knight to d2 in this position. And that's totally fine. It keeps the center a little bit more flexible. If black plays, for example, c takes d4 now, after c takes d4, the idea is that black does not have to take on d4 anymore, which makes this position different from the previous one because pawn takes e5 is not going to happen because there's d takes e5, right?
Yeah. The queen is protecting this, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you actually want to be playing, black wants to be playing bishop b7. And now when black plays bishop b7, you can consider playing d5 because this just closes off the bishop.
Yeah.
However, there's also a trade-off to playing a move like d5 now. Where do you think your knights are possibly going to go in the future?
After d5?
Yeah, after d5, I'll move 13. Oh, sorry, 14.
14. Yeah. Okay, chat. Where for white, yeah.
Yeah, for black, where do the knights want to go?
For white, I know what you want to do. You want to go knight f1, g4, and
Yes,
knight
for
c3.
white, we always do the same thing in the Spanish. For white's plan is so simple in Spanish. That's why I like it so much. So yeah, the knight can go to c5 or c4. Once you've pushed this pawn up, you're actually creating a weakness on c5. So that's a square that you can always look at. And for black, honestly, there's nothing wrong with playing bishop to c8, knight to b7, knight to c5. This opening is pretty slow. So you definitely have the chance to pretty much do whatever you feel like is flexible, right?
Right.
So that's why in this situation, I usually do not like playing d5 anymore because the c file is already open. And if an open part of the center is open, that means you do not get the same chance to attack anymore.
So that's why you want to play d5 straight away on move number 12 so that it remains completely closed.
Pardon?
On move 12, that's why you want to play d5 so the center remains very closed.
Yeah, exactly. So so the two choices are on. So whenever you play an opening, right, you're not just making moves. You're playing the opening with an idea of what kind of structure you want to play in the middle game. Because if you're playing on move 12, you're trying to play d5, then you're probably going to be trying to commit to an attack on the king side. And if you don't play a move like d5, you're playing knight to d2, well, then you are, sorry, not to knight to d2. Yeah, actually, it is knight to d2 on move 12. Then you're going to be playing a more flexible middle game. It is going to be a much more sort of, just in general, it's going to be a much more just strategical and positional kind of game. And those are just things that like you have to consider before you dive into an opening, right? Do you start thinking about your opening even before you play the opening itself?
Yeah, I mean, you really want to be in the mood to attack. Like, as you rightly pointed out, that if you want to push d5, you will get some attacking chances with this knight d2, knight f1. But there are some days where you're not feeling very sharp and you want to play more stable chess. So you go knight d2. But also depends on your style as a player. So yeah, a lot of things to consider.
Exactly. And this is stuff that you should be thinking about before you even go into a game. I mean, a lot of the time, I think people are just kind of making moves, right? But if you want to become a serious chess player, chat, think about what kind of mood you are in today. Think about what kind of position. I'm always in an aggressive mood, so I'll always play d5 instead of knight b to d2. But one of these days, if I'm not feeling up for tactics, or if I'm not feeling up for these kind of like oh, I have to shove my pawns all the way up the board, I can play knight to d2 and take a little bit more of like a relaxing kind of position.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's actually look a little bit more into knight to d2, and then we can go to the next opening, because I don't want this to end up being like, hey, here, take 40 moves of Spanish theory right now. Like that's
no, but
too
it's
much.
already a lot of understanding already here.
Exactly. Somebody in my chat just asked, do you feel with how accessible computer analysis is, people are just learning strong openings based on stats rather than one that matches personality? That's a really, really, really good question. And I think one of the main things that people are doing wrong these days is kind of thinking that every opening that perhaps like super GMs play is for them, you know? Well, meanwhile, the super GM is like, has prepared this opening for like 30 hours with 5 of his like seconds. Yeah. And this guy's like 1300 over here is like, yes, King's Indian looks really, really cool. Let me just play that. So I do think that in part, I'm really happy that people get encouraged to play openings, but also at the same time, keep in mind what your ability in chess is. Whether or not you want to win is also kind of important, because if you try to play a new opening, most of the time, for me at least, I just start losing a lot of games, and that's not fun either. But yeah,
I think it's a choice between trying to learn something new, and then when you learn something new, you will have those losses at first, and then you decide whether that opening suits you or not. Because
exactly.
I know, like my wife Amruta, who's also a chess player, she played her
Yes,
entire life the Sicilian defense. And then
really.
like, because she never wanted to experiment and she liked the opening a lot. But now she says, now that she's left chess, she says, oh, maybe I could have tried something different, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. I think when you're a competitive player, I mean, like winning is your main goal, right? So you're always very scared to test out new openings in tournaments, because, well, there goes your rating. So now that I'm also a bit further away from my competitive career, I've actually started playing D4 openings again.
Oh, nice.
I've started doing all these things. So I definitely understand. I definitely understand your wife. Yeah. But let's go back to move 12, knight b to d2. Let's just show a few more moves. Usually black takes on d4, take on d4. Somebody in chat says they struggle with activating the dark or light squared bishop. Okay. So I mean, with both bishops, right? Take a look at where they're aimed. It's pretty obvious they aimed right at the king. So the idea is that you just want to kind of keep your pieces sort of where they are. After bishop to b7, play knight to f1. Guess where this knight is going, chat? It's going to it's probably going to g3 in this case to defend e4, and then also going to f5. So after rook a to c8, your bishop's attack. That's when you just drop it to b1. It might look like all of white's pieces are on the bottom rank right now, and you might be like, oh my god, wait, what is white even doing? But the idea is just that like black can't really do anything either. So you just want to move your knight to g3 slowly. You want to maybe sometime push d5. You want to get your knight to f5. You can play bishop to g5. Bishop to g3, rook to c1.
It's like one of those positions where the bishops on their initial squares, like on these squares, are already very active. Like the bishop on c1, you would not be sure whether you want to place it on e3, on g5, or where it would be, or maybe even on d2. So you just delay it.
Yeah, if you don't if you don't have like a certain square for a piece, there's no real reason to be like, oh, I have to move this piece. I mean, your king's already castled, like your position is solid. I think a mistake that I see a lot of people make is that they're like, oh my god, I was taught I have to develop all my pieces, so I have to develop all my pieces. But once you get to a certain level, you realize that, hey, look, you develop the pieces that matter. You don't have to develop every piece. It always, how much of an impact does this developing move have? I mean, this bishop is fine on c1. It does the same job as it would on e3, right? Like you're just looking at this one diagonal. It's not like there's anything on another diagonal. So you can just keep that bishop on c1 for now. And I mean, this is basically ideas in the Spanish. So, if you guys are actually trying to play the Spanish, do keep in mind these ideas, these plans. I mean, there's a lot of different ways for black to play, obviously. But the ideas are more or less always the same. For white, you just want to keep the center. If you want to attack, you want to play d5 on move 12, like we discussed previously. Sorry, yeah, on move 12, you want to play d5. If you want to go for something a bit more positional, going to maybe an end game, you want to play move 12, knight to d2.
Got it.
Yeah.
I just want to add one line, which is my personal favorite from black side on move
Okay.
9. Instead of knight a5, I like to play knight b8 there.
Oh, the Briar! Oh my god, of course. I love playing the Briar too. This is quite possibly the most solid line in the Spanish.
It's unbelievable that within 10 moves, you have developed a piece and you're bringing it back, and it's become one of the main lines which has been played by thousands of grandmasters all across the world. And it's unbelievable concept, because after d4, what you want to do is you want to put your knight on d7 and just keep your c pawn free, and just say that the knight is better placed on d7 than on c6, and the bishop will go to b7. And the thing which I was saying about, how things fit in the Ruy Lopez is just like here, like you play knight bd2 on after knight bd7.
Oh, this is the most beautiful sequence of moves. Okay, so here this is a big trick, right? All right.
Oh, yes.
Chat.
Okay.
What happens after rook to e8?
Oh, very cool, very cool. So white to play, guys, and figure out.
White to play. What would you play here? Anybody thinking? Okay, I'm seeing it.
Yeah, by the way, Mayur remembers that Amin Basim is one of the biggest experts of the Breyer in the world. The first ever player to reach 2700 from Africa.
Yeah, but he's very, very strong for sure. Yeah, taking on f7 is indeed correct, because after bishop takes f7, if you go king takes f7, we now have knight to g5. And after king to g8, knight to e6, and your queen is all of a sudden trapped.
Ooh.
Yeah, have you ever lost to this? I mean, have you ever lost to this? Because I have. I played into the Briar, and I played this, and I was so embarrassed. I was so embarrassed.
I have never lost like this in the Breyer, but there's this one tournament where I was pretty strong. Like I was 24-30 or something, and at that point, it was kind of this stonewall setup. And my opponent played knight g5 at some moment, and I couldn't defend the e6 square anymore, and I had to resign in a couple of moves out of the opening. So it reminded me of that game. And,
yeah, exactly. So we do want to play rook e8 here, but the idea is that you go bishop b7. And why do you play bishop b7? Well, I mean, it's a normal developing move, but also, guess what? Now white cannot play knight to f1 because you would lose the pawn on e4.
Nice.
So instead, white has to play bishop to c2. And now black can play rook to e8. It's just, chess is sometimes so beautiful, because like it's just like one line after another. It's so nice. I love the Spanish for this reason, specifically because you get to do all of these things. So
yeah,
rook to e8, knight to f1. I mean, this line goes on to like move 27 of theory. I remember when I was preparing this for my Olympiad, I memorized like 30 moves of it, so I don't want to go much deeper. But guess what? The plan is here for white.
The same thing, yeah. The knight goes
from
f1 to g2.
Exactly. The Spanish is so easy. It's such an easy opening. Look, if you're a beginner trying to play the Spanish, you remember this one idea: knight goes b1, d2, f1, g3, f5. Knight goes brr. Like, it's so simple. It's so simple.
Beautiful. I think all those who are watching right now will remember this idea for forever. This knight from b1 going to g3 to f5. Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
Very cool.
that's like the only plan White has in the Spanish, and that's why I always encourage beginners to play it, because you can't mess up the only plan you have. Like if there's only one plan, you gotta go with that plan. So that's why I say the Spanish is kind of an easy opening to pick up. I mean, obviously, as you get to higher levels, your opponent's gonna start playing moves like G6 to deny your knight from going to F5, but then the idea, if they ever play a move like G6, the idea is quite simple too. You just start putting your bishop to G5, trying to go to H6, swap off that dark square bishop. So, I mean, there is like way too much theory in this, but as long as you understand, knight goes to F5 at some point. Knight
One
goes from
second.
B1 to F5.
Just a second. Neem, 1 second.
No worries. Okay. Hello, chat. How's it going? I'm not sure where Sagar went, but I hope you guys are enjoying today's lesson. How are you guys doing? Shiyama, everybody. Shiyama chat. Instructions unclear. God made it. Yo,
Yeah, sorry,
don't get checkmated.
I just worried that something was happening outside. There was some noise, but all is good.
No
Yeah.
worries at all. No worries at all. Yeah. So basically, I was just saying, like, yep, this is all you really got to know about the Spanish. Knight goes to F5. As for white, for black, you just want to stop that knight from going to F5
Awesome.
pretty much.
Awesome. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was Spanish. I wanted to just, do you play the dragon with black?
I do. I play the dragon with both colors.
Oh, can you show us some stuff in the dragon?
Okay,
Because
we're going for the dragon now. We're going straight from the Spanish into the dragon. Okay, do we want to look at it from black's point perspective or white's perspective?
I would say black looks more sort of kind of aggressive and but whatever you prefer. But I would say if you show it with black, I can
Okay, let's
try
look
it.
at it. Yeah, we can do it for black. I'm usually more familiar with the white side, but I think it makes more sense to show from black side because people want to learn how to play the Spanish, right?
Okay.
Sorry, play the dragon. Sorry, play the Sicilian dragon. So people want to learn how to play the dragon. So let's give the people what they want. So knight F3, E4, C5, knight F3, D6. So there's actually a really funny quote. People ask me, how do you play the accelerated dragon? I said it's when your dragon goes zoom zoom. Because basically you skip the D6 move and you just go like with B6 and bishop B7, so your bishop goes zoom zoom.
Yeah,
but
I think there are two kinds of accelerated. One is accelerated dragon, where you go like move to knight c6.
Yes.
And then d4, cd4, knight d4, and g6. This is the accelerated.
Yeah, this is accelerated dragon. Oh, and the other one is the hyper accelerated dragon.
If you go to knight f3, g6 is hyper accelerated. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But
zoom is very interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't know how to explain it to people. People were asking me what's the difference between accelerated and hyper accelerated, and I'm like, well, the bishop goes zoom zoom. It goes there faster. So like, I don't know what people expected me to say. But yeah. Let's cover the regular dragon because okay, so the thing about accelerated dragon is that the positions don't even really look like a dragon anymore. So you kind of lose the core ideas of a dragon. So let's actually cover the accelerated dragon really quickly. So knight c6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, and then G6. Here black, yeah, g6. Knight to c3, bishop to g7, bishop to
instead of knight c3, there's one main move which is c4, right? This Marazzi.
Oh yes. There's also c4, which is the Marazzi bind. So actually, isn't it more accurate to play knight to f6 first and then knight c3 and then g6?
But how would you do that? Like
you can't do that because there's also knight takes. So instead of playing this is the part where I'm actually going to ask for your help. So on move 4, if you play knight to f6, you're threatening e5, right?
Yeah, knight c3. No, not e5 because
sorry, e4. You're starting to take e4.
So knight c3. And then if you play g6, then I think this knight takes c6, b takes c6, and e5 could be uncomfortable. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So this is why the accelerated dragon is actually not playable from that structure. Okay, so that's a mistake I actually often get into, is that I like playing the Rossi bind, but I get very confused about when I can play the Rossi bind. So actually on G6, then you can indeed play pawn to C4, which is the Marazzi. But more commonly, I think people play knight to C3, and after bishop to G7, there is bishop to E3 and knight to F6. Okay, so now the key difference is in the regular dragon, you play something like F3, right? As white. But you can't play F3 here because this is going to lead. Yeah.
Is there some trap here?
There's no trap right now, but after castles, white has to be very careful about what they play. Okay. So, for example, if they go bishop to C4, you're gonna get hit with that queen to B6 line. Yes. On move 8, and I have lost so many games to this. And now actually the move is bishop to B3. It looks like you're it looks so complicated. Now there's knight takes E4.
Okay, so when you play queen B6, is there no kind of discovered attack from the knight moving to F5 and hitting your queen on B6?
Well, there's not, because you can play queen takes B2, which is a free pawn, attacking the knight on C3, as well as attacking the knight on F5.
Very nice, very nice. So therefore, bishop B3 now actually threatens knight F5.
It does, indeed.
Ooh, okay.
But, black can also make moves, right? So a natural move here is knight takes E4, and then all of a sudden your whole center is falling apart. It is actually, if you play perfectly, I think it goes out to a draw, but what are the chances of playing perfect chess, right?
Yeah, I think, is it knight D5 now?
Yeah, it is knight D5 now.
Only move, right? Only move to play. Because if you take on E4 with the pawn or something, then bishop D4 and already black is better.
Yeah, bishop takes D4 and black is better. He's up a pawn, and your king is like out in the open. It's such a nightmare scenario, honestly. I mean, Chad seems to already know this trick, so we'll go over it quite quickly. But the only move is knight to D5, and then you have to play queen to A5, and then white has to play C3, and then black can play like knight to C5, and oh my god, it's just
knight C6 and knight E7, right? Yeah.
Knight C6, D takes C6, knight takes E7. You win your pawn back, but now your knight's stuck there. So now you have to play knight takes C8, and then all of a sudden you play 15 moves of theory for what reason, right? You don't even get an advantage out of it as white. So you definitely don't want to do that. Do not do that. So that's the key difference between the regular dragon and the accelerated dragon, is that white is actually not able to get this F3 move in. So you might be like, okay, but why? What difference does that make, right? Like, why can I not just go for an attack anyways?
Okay, just so on the 8th move, bishop C4, there is queen B6, you said, in the accelerated dragon. And instead of bishop C4, if you play queen D2, then there is a very powerful move for black, right, over here. Yeah. Because now queen B6 doesn't work.
Yeah, so actually, queen b6 doesn't work. You can play d5, right?
Yes,
if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly.
Yes.
d5.
Because you saved the move from playing d6. Now you get d5 with an extra tempo. So you're playing the regular dragon up a tempo, and that is incredibly strong. You might not think that one move makes a big difference, but one move makes a very big difference, for sure.
Yeah, cool.
So here, that's why you can't play f3, and you have to play a move like bishop to c4. I personally like bishop to c4 on move 7 for white. Right. You're just stopping the move d5. Once again, we're just going with the regular ideas of controlling the center. So then black can play castle, and white can play, for example, bishop to b3. And this is an important move in a lot of different dragon positions, because you're just trying to not get, tricked in the center with knight takes e4 and all these crazy ideas. But the idea here is that actually white does not get a castle long. So after d6 now from black, if you're still trying to go for castling long with like f3 and stuff, well, that's just a little bit too slow, because black can immediately go with knight to a5, for example. Just so many things that make this a little bit too slow. So usually what happens is white plays h3 in order to stop knight to g4, and after, for example, bishop to d7, just castles on the king side, and you get this kind of a little bit more positional style, even though it is a Sicilian.
Very nice, very nice. So basically, if you want a very sort of a quieter dragon, then you go for the accelerated one. If you want more aggressive one, then you go directly for d6 on move 2.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, I didn't know this thing that ninth move f3 in this final line that we were looking at is not very effective. I thought it just may transpose, but as you said, knight a5. And queen d2, and maybe you just take on b3.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing about this is, if you play f3 and your opponent is kind enough to play d6, this does go back into the main Yugoslav line of the dragon. The Yugoslav dragon will show in a little bit. But it's characterized by having the light squared bishop on c4. There's two main lines in the dragon, the Yugoslav and the long castle line, which I don't remember if it has a name. But in the long castle line, your bishop stays on f1. In the Yugoslav line, your bishop goes to c4. So basically here, if you play f3, d6, queen to d2, move 9, then black has knight to a5 after bishop to d3. You can play bishop to d7. The light square bishop for black usually just stays on d7. There's no really any better square
how
for
did
it.
you
It
get
does
this to this position on move 7 castles? For black?
Sorry, no. On move 8 f3.
Okay.
Yeah, d6, queen to d2, knight to a5, bishop to b3. You can play bishop d7. You don't have to take the bishop straight away because that bishop isn't going anywhere. But if white chooses to long castle in this situation, I think you can just start playing you could go rook to b8, play b5, and then knight to c4 really fast, or you can just take on b3. And I think it's just not a great position.
Right.
Well, it's not the best position you could have for white. Yeah. So yeah, this is also called the Chinese dragon. Man, there's some experts here in the chat who know all about theory.
Yeah, this rook b8 move is known as the Chinese dragon.
Yes, that's the line I used to play in the dragon. I played black. It's such a long time ago too. I mean, I went through the phase of being a Spanish player and then playing only Sicilians, and then I went back to playing Spanish only. Now I play a bit of both, but I like the rouser personally a little bit more for black than
you play this knight c6 Sicilian.
I play the classical Sicilian.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's also what Vidit loves to play.
Oh, really?
He has played it his entire life.
Michal Marin taught me the rouser.
So in person or from the ChessBase DVD?
In person, like he was my personal coach.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I've been coach. Yeah, Michal Marin is one of the best. Obviously one of the best theoreticians. Coaches. All that.
How did you learn from him? Like, did you go to Romania to learn?
No, it was just via call. Yeah. I mean, he has a very positional style of playing chess, which unfortunately did not suit me for the long run. But I think the rouser was a very good opening for me. For me, it's a really good opening for me now, which is ironic because back then when I was 14, it wasn't a very good opening for me, but when I'm 21, I think it's a lot better because now I'm a lot more patient. I'm happy playing those end games in which I'm better. I think it's just overall so much better.
Yeah, this is something just for the chat to know what rouser is. After e4 c5, knight f3 d6, d4 cd4, knight d4, knight f6, knight c3, and knight c6. This is the most logical move, but of course the main opening at top level nowadays has become the Najdorf with a6, but knight c6. Why do you think is not so popular at top level, Nemo? Why do everyone keep playing the Najdorf?
Okay, so it might sound a little bit contradictory because Najdorf has a lot of theory too, but the rouser is pretty much a solved opening until move 50. If both players
till move.
It's solved until move 20 or something. I know theory until move 22, and that's me,
I thought if you said 50.
No, yeah. like 50 is an exaggeration for sure, but pretty much people know it until like move 20. And I'm just like, okay, well, the good news is at my level, people don't have that much time, right? But I think at higher levels, it's just the lines are simple enough that you can kind of remember all of them, and it just ends up becoming the same variation over and over again, and then it just becomes into a draw. If you play perfect chess, by the way, guys, the games are usually a draw.
Yeah.
So
Chess is a draw.
Yeah, exactly. Chess is a draw. You heard it here. Anish Giri would be very happy about that too. But yeah, the point is that if you play, knight to c6, you're going into the classical. If you play a6, you're playing to the Najdorf. Now, the downsides, upsides to both. Playing to the Najdorf means that your opponent can pick between like 10 different variations that you probably have to know. If you play into the Rouser, there's really only 2 variations, but the good news is that your opponent probably doesn't know it because it's such an old line, and people are usually more about the hype lines like Dragon and Najdorf. But at the same time, hey, it's not covered in the DVD, but I think the Rouser is actually a really good opening in a Sicilian if you want to throw your opponent off guard.
Yeah. There's something that you could cover it maybe in future because it's one of your favorite openings.
For sure. I've started playing it a little bit more these days because I've gotten a little bit tired of playing Spanish over and over again. But yeah, let's go back into the Dragon, which is how this whole conversation started. So once again, e4, c5, knight to f3, d6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight to f6, knight to c3, and then you go g6 here for the main line of the Dragon. Okay, we're not going to cover the a6. We're not going to cover the Najdorf today. That will take at least 2 years to do that. And I just don't think we had that much time tonight, So we're going to cover the Dragon, which also has a lot of lines, but I think the Dragon ideas are a lot more simple because the pawn structure is always the same. Whereas in the Najdorf, pawn structures can become very different.
Right. So G6 and they call it the Dragon because of like the structure of the black pawn, is it? Like it looks like a dragon?
Yeah, and it looks like the Dragon constellation.
A7. Oh, is there some that constellation of stars? There's something.
Yeah, it's the constellation of stars.
Oh, I thought it's because it's like the H7, G6, F7, E7, D6 is like the face, and the A7, B7 pawn is like the tail of Dragon.
No. Oh.
Maybe it's
no.
Not
I think it's apparently just straight up the Draco system, the Draco constellation. Yeah, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it's after the stars, but I mean, the lore of chess openings is really fun for sure. So here, white plays bishop to e3 usually. You can go bishop g7. If white plays bishop to e2, then this is the quieter Dragon line where they just go short castle. And
classical, yeah?
Yeah, the classical. But usually people will be a little bit more aggressive. I mean, if you want to play a solid opening, why play the Dragon as white? Just go into like, something else, right? So
yeah, play knight f3 first move.
Yeah, play knight f3 first move. Exactly. But I mean, sometimes you have no choice because your opponent plays a Dragon. But if you want to play something non-confrontational, play a very slow game, go bishop e2. But if you want to play something a lot more aggressive, you play f3. So then after that, you can go kingside castle, and then here white plays queen to d2, and the idea of this move, queen to d2, is to be able to play bishop to h6 at some point. It's also enables you to long castle next move, and it's just overall the perfect place for you to put your queen.
Right.
Yeah. So here, I played knight to c6, and actually, there's a very interesting line here with g4, which is what. This is a newer Dragon line. Traditionally, I think long castle or bishop c4 are the main lines, but I believe in recent years people have started playing g4 a little bit more. Now, please do correct me if I'm wrong, because I am definitely not like the Dragon expert. But g4 is a very interesting line.
This But
Mhm.
as you mentioned about this Spanish bishop g4, and I'd asked my coach back then, this g4 is one more thing which my coach had mentioned back then, was that when
Really?
white plays g4, you can put
Yeah.
your bishop on e6 straight away. And I don't know
Yes.
how much sense it makes, but the point is that if he takes knight takes e6, f takes e6, now that the rook opened up on f8, it actually attacks the f3 pawn, which is slightly is
Hmm.
backward because of the move g4.
Yeah. I mean, I remember learning this opening back in 2014, but usually do not want to take on e6 with a knight. It actually is one of the main lines. So knight takes e6, pawn takes e6, and there is just so much theory here. You go castle, and then all of a sudden there's like knight to e5, bishop to e2. I honestly cannot remember all the theory off the top of my head. It's been years and years since I last played this. But I think one of the main lines is to actually not to not take the bishop on e6, even though it's playable. You can just go long castle straight away, and black probably plays knight takes d4, and after bishop takes d4, it's not overly great for black to play that actually. So wait, what's the move here? I don't remember this. I
You,
honestly
you,
don't.
you mean after g4?
Yeah, after g4, bishop e6 is the main move for sure.
Hmm.
Hmm.
But there's also knight takes d4, bishop d4, and bishop e6, right?
Pardon?
After g4, knight takes d4, bishop d4, bishop e6.
Yes. There is. Wait, so you mean on
Move 9,
move
knight takes
9 instead of bishop
d4.
e6? There's also knight takes d4. Yeah, but
Uh,
this line is not that good because you actually alleviate a lot of pressure in the center by swapping off the knight and helping your opponent's bishop get to a better square.
mm, mm.
Yeah. There are a lot of different variations in this, and I mean, this can go on for days, but I still want to get back to like the main ideas,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
core ideas of the dragon. I think that's very important.
Mm.
So I mean, white here has a choice between bishop to c4 or long castle. And with bishop to c4, this is called the Yugoslav, and traditionally, you go bishop to d7. This looks a little bit like the Accelerated Dragon we looked at earlier. White goes long castle. You can play rook to c8 or knight to e5. Both moves are perfectly possible. But the idea at the end of the day always becomes you want to attack on opposite sides of the board.
Right. Yeah. Very
So
impressive. And
yeah.
now there's a big threat, right? After rook c8, if you start
Mhm.
with h4, it's actually a losing move.
Yes, so after rook to c8, if white plays move 11 h4, then you have knight takes d4, and your bishop is actually unprotected. So black wins that bishop. And that's why white has to play bishop to b3, just retreating that bishop. And black's idea is fairly simple. You want to go knight to e5, knight to c4. In the dragon, for white, the most important piece is the dark squared bishop. So as black, what do you want to do?
After bishop b3?
After bishop b3, black wants to go for the dark squared bishop, right?
Oh, how?
Because the dark squared bishop is white's most important piece. Because that bishop decides whether or not you can go to h6, take this dark squared bishop that black has on g7.
Right.
So you definitely want to be playing these kind of structures very carefully as white. You would always rather give up your light squared bishop over your dark squared bishop because you need that dark squared bishop for that kingside attack. That's super important.
So knight e5?
Knight to e5. You can play h4, you can play king b1. I personally like king b1. King b1's like one of those safer moves. Okay, so now when black plays knight c4, you have to play bishop takes d4, right? Because
you don't want to give this bishop.
Exactly. Dark square bishop more important than light square bishop. Rook takes c4. And then white plays g4. And how do you decide whether or not to play h4 or g4? How would you do that?
I was thinking if you go h4, black will go h5, and then to get g4 might be tougher. So you first start with g4. Does that make sense?
Exactly. That is 100% correct.
Nice.
100% correct. This is a mistake I see a lot of people make. People just push whichever pawn and they're like, okay, this will be fine. And then all of a sudden their opponent responds with h5 and they're like, wait, where's my attack?
Hmm.
So it's really, really important to actually push the correct pawn.
Right.
Okay, so there is going to be g4 here and black plays b5.
Okay.
And is it b5 here actually? So the idea is that you can't take on b5 with your knights because after knight takes b5, bishop takes b5 or queen b8. Bishop takes b5 and then queen b8, and this attack becomes very strong. It might look like you're winning a lot of pawns, but you're actually weakening your king side
And with
by
the bishop
letting...
on g7 looking at b2, it could be very dangerous.
Exactly. This bishop on g7 and this queen on b8 are aimed straight at white's b2 pawn. So you don't want to take on b5. However, white does have this move pawn to b3, and then you can go rook to c8. I don't want to go super in depth into dragon theory because once again, it's going to take about 200 years.
Yeah.
But the idea is that here, you know, if white just plays something like, just you want to continue your attack, right? So black wants to play on the king side, push up a5, push up a4 sometime, maybe play b4, go play around the dark squares now. White wants to play h5, h4, bishop h6, and then eventually swap off.
Right. Yeah, it's a very exciting position.
For sure. This is definitely one of the more exciting lines. So let's go back to actually, instead of bishop to c4, what about long castle? Because long castles also move. And the main move here for black is d5. And this goes into a line that I'm just like, oh my God, this is pure theory. You have to know it. But I have one idea for you here.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of the move? Have you ever seen the move queen to e1?
I have seen it. I mean, but I used to think that there's this move instead of queen e1, knight takes c6, pawn takes e takes d5, knight takes d5, knight takes, pawn takes, and queen takes d5. And you know, if the queens get exchanged, nothing like it. You will be pawn up in the endgame. But then black players start to play like what, queen c7 there?
Yeah, queen c7, there's queen takes a8, now there's bishop to f5, and all of a sudden you have to give up your queen for the rook because there's queen takes c2, checkmate, so queen takes f8, king takes f8, rook to d2. This line goes on for
better
like...
here?
It's actually equal. So objectively
equal.
speaking, the position is totally equal. I do favor black's chances though. I think I like black's chances more. I mean, but this is obviously a little bit more of a personal opinion because I've never played this line as white. I've only ever played it as black. Okay. And playing with two rooks versus a queen is not a combination you usually get. So I think most people would be better at playing this with black. But the position is objectively speaking equal. However, I would advise avoiding this line unless you want to play really theoretical endgames. Like it's just too difficult. I think it's just too difficult. That's why I always recommend people to just go queen to e1.
Okay. And the threat is to just unleash your rook against the black queen.
Exactly. Now the rook is against this queen. So now there's actually a lot of threats that white has. So black here can play either e5 or e6. I don't really like the move e6 for black because it just ends up being a little bit too passive. White can immediately go h4 and start this attack. And because your center is a little bit undermined right now,
right,
since you have your queen facing the rook, it's a pretty uncomfortable position because you have to play moves like queen c7. Your opponent can just go h5, and you can see that, you know, on move 12, he's already got pawn on h5, and you have none of your pawns aimed at your opponent's king, right?
True. So e5 might be better than e6.
Exactly. So e5 is probably better than e6 because you don't want to be stuck in a situation in the Sicilian, in the Dragon especially, where your opponent already has a pawn aimed at your king and you don't have anything
Yeah.
out yet. Yeah. So here after e5, knight takes c6 is the main move because otherwise if you go anywhere else, there's d4 ideas. So b takes c6, e takes d5, and here black should
Play knight takes.
yeah, with a knight. And the reason for that is if you play pawn takes, there are moves like bishop to g5, and then all of a sudden you struggle with protecting your d5 pawn.
And if you push d4, maybe queen takes e5 is still possible.
Yeah, queen takes e5. It's a very painful position for black to play. I do not recommend this.
Right, got it.
Yep.
Okay.
So playing knight takes d5 is the main move here. Now white plays bishop to c4. We just want to keep attacking the center, right? Chess is simple. You develop your pieces, you attack the center, you control the center, and that's it. That's the whole game.
Right. Yeah. So bishop c4 and maybe bishop e6. We also control the center.
Exactly. Bishop to e6, we control the center as well. And now white plays knight to e4. And the idea behind this move is actually kind of crazy because you're actually you're preventing black's queen from going to g5 because you want to play bishop to c5. But on move 14, if you play bishop to c5, immediately there's queen to g5 check. And after king to b1, there's knight takes c3 or rook f to d8. And then all of a sudden, this queen on g5 is attacking your g2 pawn and threatening to take that. And this becomes really uncomfortable.
Got it.
So instead of that, white should be playing knight to e4 in order to stop the queen from going to g5 in the first place.
Right.
Yep.
And this is very complicated, right? I mean, I've seen these games and I don't know what black is aiming for, what white is aiming for, but it's very concrete, right?
Yeah, it is very, very concrete. So white, take a wild guess at what white wants to aim for.
Maybe going into an endgame.
No, actually, it's not to go into an endgame. You actually want to play h4 and g4.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you do actually want to play h4 and g4. You're still trying to go for the attack. Meanwhile, black is actually, I believe, happy with the endgame because somehow these structures just end up being pretty okay for black. I think it's because of the open b file, but the idea is obviously for black that they just want to be putting the rook, well, not right now onto b8, not after knight to e4. After knight to e4, you have to play queen to c7, because then if bishop to c5, you want to be able to play rook f to d8 to be putting this rook on the open file. And now white actually does play g4. And now black has to play pretty much knight to f4, just trying to swap off the bishops. Like if you have less pieces, if your opponent has less pieces, the less chances they have to attack you, right?
Right.
So this is a very mechanical opening until a certain level. Once you start swapping off the pieces, so on move 17, actually bishop takes e6 is the correct move. Knight takes e6, and then you just go bishop to d6, and after queen b6, white wants to play h4.
Nemo was saying like I'm not going to go through all the entire 20-30 move theory, but here we are, going through that.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. But
no, but it's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the openings are insane. I haven't done this in such a long time, so I actually really wanted to thank you for getting me back into it, because when I talk to my chat, like they're like, yes, of course, and they don't really get what's going on. But I'm talking to somebody who is like even better than I am in chess, so it's just like it's a fruitful conversation. Not saying that chat is bad at chess or anything like that, but they're definitely not international masters in chess.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm the one who's learning a lot from today, especially all these lines, because these are some of the openings that I haven't played much. Because I write a lot and because I cover a lot of events, I've seen these games and these lines, but never really studied them as a player for my repertoire. So it's very, very useful.
I'm glad that I can actually show you a few of my favorite tricks. I mean, obviously, we all have things that we are better, like openings in which we're a lot more knowledgeable of, and I would never show somebody like a totally like novel opening. But I mean, in this position, after queen to b6, the idea is pretty obvious. Black just wants to play a5, a4, a3 at some point, maybe rook a7, rook to b7. You just want to go for the king, somehow push this knight off e4, and white just wants to play h4 and h5. So it becomes a bit of a king side attack again, but this one I think actually can become even messier than the normal dragon because of the center being so open.
Right.
Yeah. All right, so do we want to dive into a d4 opening?
Okay.
Yeah,
Maybe
we can probably aim
last...
to cover. Yeah, this will be the last one.
Okay.
Yes. So, okay. So we want to look at the Queen's Gambit, the Ratty. What do we want to look at?
Your favorite, something which is like your pet line.
Okay, so I am actually a Nimzo player trying to switch into the Grunfeld.
Oh, nice. Let's look at Grunfeld.
Oh, no, that's too much. I learned that like last week. I learned that like 2 weeks ago. I can't do the Grunfeld.
Okay, but whatever you learned, you can teach. Because, the Grunfeld, I mean, I'm also a Nimzo player. And I've always tried to think about Grunfeld. And it's super complicated. I mean, it's very active. You give up the center to white. It's never easy to play that.
For sure. It's definitely very difficult to play the Grunfeld. I think the Grunfeld is like the ultimate test of how much opening theory you can know. Because the Grunfeld is definitely one of the most intense openings ever. So yeah, I mean, after d4, we can take a quick look at let's take a look at d5.
Okay, d5.
Let's take a look at d5. D5 is keeping it simple. I think Queen's Gambit is simple enough.
Yes.
And like it's an opening that you should not be messing up. So if you're messing up the Queen's Gambit, I have a lot of respect for you because it's quite difficult to mess it up. So white plays c4. Okay. And would you take on c4?
No. I don't like it. Yeah. I mean, it's a respected opening, the Queen's Gambit accepted, but I just don't like giving up the center.
Exactly. Giving up the center goes against all of our chess principles. Some people do like taking that extra pawn though. So, if you're somebody who prefers to like just play up a pawn and have a really terrible center, sure. But that is not recommended. So let's not look into d takes c4. I do not want anybody playing that here. Instead, we just play e6. E6, very, very easy move, right?
Right.
We're just controlling the center. And after knight to c3, white's just putting more pressure, and then you can play knight to f6. Logical moves. White plays knight to f3. This is the Queen's Gambit decline. You can actually go into the Slav, or the semi-Slav, actually, sorry, with c6. This is quite possibly one of the most solid openings in all of chess. But once again, it's a little bit too passive for my own taste. So
really?
Yeah, it's a little too passive for my own taste. Do you play the semi-Slav?
Crazy. I mean,
really?
It's one of the most aggressive systems because you remember this Anand Kramnik match? Maybe you were very young at that point.
I don't think I was playing chess at that point.
It was in 2008, and Vishy played this with black. And he used to keep his king in the center, and he won that match. And it was like this semi-Slav.
Okay, you have to show me that game. You have to send me that game because now you got me intrigued about the semi-Slav. Because for me,
it's one of the most aggressive systems because you take on like there are if after c6 white plays bishop g5, then after dc4 you go into these extremely common, the Botvinnik system.
Right. Okay. I never played the dc4. I just play h6 and bishop e7. So I guess it's the line choice, right? Okay. Yeah. Okay. I see. Yeah, that's what I'm missing from the semi-Slav then. Then my life has never been like fulfilled. I always assumed it was like a very dry opening, but now that you've told me about all these options, like, wow, I actually have to try the semi-Slav again at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always been a Queen's Gambit decline player, so I actually never
played the QGD.
I play the Queen's Gambit decline.
But I find your repertoire to be very how can I put it? Like you are an aggressive player, right? And then you play like the Ruy Lopez, which is kind of positional. Then you
Well, the Ruy
play
Lopez
the
can be aggressive
yes,
if
it
you
can be
start. Yeah.
as you said d5, g4, and all of that.
Yeah, yeah,
But then to
exactly.
play Queen's Gambit declined with black. Uh,
You'd
seems
be surprised. You'd be very surprised because you sometimes get in these isolated pawns or hanging pawn structures. I mean, my main opening is actually the Nimzo. So the Nimzo is also very solid, right?
yes,
But
it's
like,
also positional. Yeah.
yeah, it's also very positional. But I think it's just I like setting it up so that I can attack later. I don't like coming out of the opening attacking. Does that kind of make sense? Like maybe it's a pretty unique kind of way to treat the game, but I like solid openings and then I like to attack.
Ah.
So I'm trying to like find the best
Oh,
of
so
both worlds.
basically you're going to show certain positions or something where even in spite of playing the solid Queen's Gambit declined, you can get kind of active positions.
I actually only know this for white. I'm not like I haven't
Okay.
played the yeah. I mostly just know this for white. Because I've actually played d4 as white as well, and those positions are pretty interesting as well.
Okay.
But here I think after bishop to b4, it can actually get super exciting pretty quickly. So
You mean
bishop to
after knight f3?
Wait, so knight to f3, yeah, knight to f3, bishop to g4, bishop to g5. This is just the main Queen's Gambit lines. There is king short castle, e3, c5, for example, and you can play c5 or you can play knight to d7. All of these lines are possible. After knight to d7, usually they can just take on d5, and after e takes d5, bishop to d3, you at some point play either. I like to play c6. Some people play c5, but I don't really want the isolated pawn structure. The isolated pawn structure is the line that I was talking about a little bit earlier about how I think white can play it pretty aggressively. So I like to play c6 instead, and this is obviously a very positional line.
You put your bishop on b4 or e7?
b4.
Then maybe this is like you're going into this Ragozin territory, right?
Yeah, it's the Ragozin territory. I played both bishop e7 and bishop b4. This is actually something I'm like not even familiar with anymore, because now when I play bullet, I put my bishop the first place where I think about it. Like I don't even consciously think about where I'm trying to put my bishop or what kind of position I'm getting. I just, oh, do I feel like bishop e7 today? Am I too lazy to, move like 3 extra squares up? Yeah, bishop e7 it is today. Saving a little bit of time on the clock too to make that move. So
Yeah. So yeah, bishop b4 I think is very more active than bishop e7, but bishop e7 is more solid on move.
Yeah, exactly. So bishop b4, and so after bishop to b4, right? We go they play bishop g5, short castle, e3. You can play c5 or knight b2 d7. I usually like playing. No, wait. Yeah, you can play c5, but I usually play knight b c7. So c takes d5, e takes d5, bishop to d3, and then there's c6 or c5. I don't like c5. I think it gives white a lot of play. So I like playing c6, just keeping things a little bit more solid. And here there is, for example, queen to c2. And this is when you actually have to play h6 because they're attacking your h7 pawn. Yeah, this is threatening because the bishop is actually pinning the knight on f6.
Right. So h6, bishop h4.
Yeah, so bishop to h4. White never wants to take the knight, right? You don't want to give up a bishop for a knight. So rook to e8, short castle. Now you can move your bishop back to e7 is pretty solid. Like, yeah, I mean, this is just one of those positions where now white actually plays bishop to g3 because you can also play a move like rook ab1. So in the Queen's Gambit,
bishop g3, there's a very nice
yeah, bishop g3 is a very good idea. And the reason for this is because if you play rook to b1, there's knight to e4 trying to swap off that dark squared bishop.
Okay.
But these are all ideas that like are so obscure. It's such an obscure idea. You just want to get this dark squared bishop off because, I mean, in part, you want a really nice knight on e4. And obviously, if white takes, then
Yeah.
if they play bishop takes e4, you just play bishop takes h4. Pieces got traded, and then all of a sudden the position is kind of like equal. So usually white plays bishop to g3 to avoid this knight e4 move. You can't play knight e4 now after bishop to g3 because it's just a free pawn. So this becomes a position in which white wants to start a minority attack. Now, minority attacks, I mean, look at this position. Do you think you can attack on the king side? Honestly.
I don't know. Maybe some h3 g4. Or you want to play knight e2, knight g3 or something like that.
If you're really crazy, if you're really crazy, maybe you can make it happen. But the correct ideas are definitely to play on the queen side, right? And is minority attack actually the correct word?
Yeah. Also,
yeah, it is. Okay.
I mean, the white pawns are looking at the queen side like f2, e3, d4. So
Yes.
sometimes, this works that whichever side your pawns point, you play towards that side. And if black's
wait, I love this.
Yeah, because
I've never heard that before.
Because usually when the pawns are pointing in one direction, your most advanced pawn is towards the side where you want to play. So here black plays on the king side and white plays on the queen side. I just also want to add that you could reach this entire position with one tempo less for black, because you played bishop b4 and came back to e7, and if you would have just put the bishop on e7, then you could have saved a move.
Yeah, this is also true. That's a very good point. So maybe it's actually good for me to just play bishop e7.
Yeah, I think fourth move you could instead of bishop b, if you're going to play it this way, like as you rightly pointed out, that if you want to go c5 and play it that way, maybe bishop b4 is good. But if you're going to come back, then maybe fourth move bishop e7 looks pretty good.
Yeah, this is a very good point. So let's go back, move 4 bishop to e7.
Yeah.
There's going to be, so same things happen, right? Bishop to g7, knight to d7. Wait, you can castle here first. Castle, c takes d5 or e3 probably. Knight to d7, c takes d5, e takes d5, bishop to d3, c6, queen to c2, and then you go h6, bishop to h4, castle. Oh, sorry, rook e8, castle, and now there is actually knight e4.
Yeah.
So there is actually knight e4 now. You can also go knight to f8, which is a line I actually play more, because the idea is you just want to put your knight on e6 or something, potentially push c5. Okay, so here there is knight to e4, bishop takes e4. This is actually a really interesting line. I mean, this is like kind of committal because you're being like, okay, I don't want to play this game at all. I just want to exchange pieces. So I don't think it's a good line if you're trying to win. So let's go with knight f8 instead. We always try to play for a win, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe you want to do g5, knight g6.
Oh my god, that is just...
It won't work. Yeah.
Of course. That's exactly... I mean, if this was the Spanish... If I just had one more pawn, I think I would have done it. But unfortunately, I don't have a pawn on e4 or anything. So the center is a little bit too open to go for those kind of ideas. Okay, so there will be rook a to c1, rook a to b1.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
b1.
So much.
I think rook b1 makes a lot of sense now.
Okay.
With the idea of b4, b5, this minority attack is very powerful. Also, I think if black wants to play this knight d7 to f8, it could be wise not to push your pawn to h6, because then if the bishop is on g5, let's say on move 9, we could go rook e8 directly, and then you castle and you can play knight to f8, because you can then also have ideas of knight e6 hitting the bishop. I mean, you can't do it immediately because there's bishop takes f6 and bishop h7, but let's say knight f8 and he goes, say, rook b1, then now knight... Oh, knight e4, there's knight e4. No, knight e4 works, yeah.
Knight e4 works now. Okay, knight e4 works now because if knight takes e4, there is d takes e4.
Knight takes e4, d takes e4 wins pawn. But if
Yep.
you do not, like, if your knight was not on f8 and on the previous move, like on 10th
Mhm.
move, if you play knight e4, then it's a mistake because of bishop e4.
Yes, this is true. Okay, because now there's d takes e4.
There
You
is
can't
knight
take back on
e4.
d3 with the threatening the queen. So you actually.
No,
Oh, there's knight takes e4 here.
yeah,
Oh,
the
I see. I
main
see.
point is after bishop e4, if bishop takes g5, you have bishop h7 check, and the knight is not on f8.
Yes, right. This is true. So you have to play knight to f8 to cover this.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my god, these openings, you see, you're so much more knowledgeable about queen pawn openings. These are openings that I'm like stumbling over my moves. Like I can play a series of moves, but
Yeah,
you
but that's
honestly
the
have the
thing
understanding
about
for it.
queen's pawn opening, that even if you understand them very well, the best you
Yes.
can get is a small edge. While if you don't know the king's pawn opening so well, it's more sharp and you may lose the game right out of the opening. So
This is very true. That's the trade-off for sure. I mean, I think after knight to f8, I play these structures all the time. They always look kind of the same, but they're like little deep differences. But meanwhile, if you play the dragon and you like have a little difference, you're probably losing the game. So,
right.
yeah. So here there's rook to b1 maybe, or do you have after knight to f8? What do you recommend white to play?
On move 10,
Move
right?
11. So after knight f8.
Yeah, knight f8, rook b1, right? Rook
Rook b1. Okay.
b1, knight e4,
Mm-hmm.
bishop e7, queen e7, and then b4.
Then
And then
b4.
your idea is to play b5. And okay, it's a very interesting position, and black tries to somehow launch an attack on the king side with knight g6, bishop g4, knight
Mm-hmm.
can go to h4 and use all his pieces to attack on the king side, while white will try to play b5, uh, like b5, b4, b takes c6, and so on.
Yeah, I think this is exactly the kind of gameplay I want to go for.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, I mean, this is like when I said I want to play a little bit aggressively in the Queen's Gambit.
Correct.
Maybe this is the line I was actually secretly looking for.
This is like your style, as you said, like you start positionally, but then you have attacking chances.
Exactly. I really like setting up my position so I can go for more, you know? I think that's really important because for me, I'm really, really bad at just kind of doing like I'm bad first of all, I'm bad at memorizing openings. And then secondly, I'm bad at defending. So unfortunately, it's not a good combo, right? Like I can't play an aggressive opening because I just don't have the ability to do it. But then at the same time, if I'm coming out of the opening and I'm like, I don't have an attack, I also feel bad. So like I have to find the perfect time to go for that attack. Otherwise, I just feel like I'm not doing well. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome.
It's an oddly specific kind of situation for me.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's like Queen's Gambit is a very solid and very interesting opening. But there's one trap which I wanted to show you. Maybe you are aware of it. So
Okay.
d4, d5, c4, e6, knight c3, knight f6.
Wait, sorry, start at the beginning. D4, D5.
c4, e6, knight c3,
C4,
knight
E6.
f6,
Okay.
bishop g5,
Mm-hmm.
and knight d7. Do you know this
Knight
trap?
D7. No.
Okay,
I'm
but
scared.
if you're white, what would you play here?
I would just play knight to F3 probably.
Oh, you don't want to win a pawn.
Oh, no, wait. C takes D5, E takes D5, knight takes D5 doesn't
Yeah.
work because of knight takes D5, bishop takes D8, bishop to B4.
Oh,
I
you're
know
very
this
sharp.
one. I know this
You're
one.
very
Yes.
sharp. You're very sharp.
Yeah,
So,
I do know this one. This one is tactics. Yes. Of
so yeah,
course.
this is one of the most how do you say first traps that one should know in the Queen's Gambit declined, and I've fallen for it with white. So
Ooh, that's painful. Oh no. That's unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, I am very well aware of this one.
very cool.
But I appreciate the reminder. I'm sure chat likes the reminder too, because I'm sure none of them are experts
Yeah,
in
The only thing in Queen's Gambit is that after knight c3, knight f6, you have to decide whether your knight on g1 goes to f3, or you want to not do it immediately, and maybe later it could go to e2 as well. So
yeah, this is true. You can also do that.
the modern line is like knight many times goes to e2 instead of f3.
Yes. And there are a lot of ideas with pushing on the king side, right?
Yeah. But yeah, this was very, very interesting, and there was so many things. But I think if someone wants to know the basics of most of the openings, then I think you cover them on your DVD.
Yes, I do. I cover a lot of e4 openings, and then there's like a little segment for d4 openings. I should familiarize myself with d4 openings and then do another part specifically on d4 openings. That would be like my next challenge for myself.
Yeah, that would be cool. And as you said, yeah, you're trying to get into new openings and you're trying to learn new stuff. So guys, if you are keen, you can go and check out these DVDs on openings as well as tactics. I saw the tactics list, and there were like 140 videos. Is that true?
Oh my god, yeah, I went overboard with the tactics one. I started making it, and then I was just like, oh, but there's that tactic, and then I was like, oh, but that's another tactic, and I just wanted to show everything, and then they were like, okay, look, it's fine. It's okay. We can't put everything in the DVD. It ended up being like an 8-hour DVD or something.
We need the studio for some other.
Yeah, we need this. We need to we have to film the openings part now because we need the studio. Somebody else is coming in soon. And this was like pre-COVID. This was back in 2019. So yeah, this was I actually filmed it in person at the ChessBase studio in Hamburg in Germany. So that was actually a lot of fun. But yes, the tactics DVD is 8 hours long because I cover.
Wow.
I try to cover everything, but I just like there's just so many things, in chess that you can't cover.
Absolutely.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
But it is a speed run of the tactics, basically.
So you learn all sorts of tactics, and guys, you can check it out. I have the links in the description. Also, guys, please do check out Nemo's chess channel. Channel on YouTube. It has chess, but it has also some other things over there. I see there's this training Sardoshe. How do you pronounce him?
Sardosh.
Yeah. And becoming the #1 Polish streamer.
Yeah, there's so many random things. Like I'm a variety streamer on Twitch, so I actually really love it when I get to do serious chess content because I think people are not used to me doing serious chess content.
There were a lot of people who said that you should come once again some point on ChessBase India. They enjoyed your what you taught today, and also I was very much. This is actually very deep opening analysis that we did, and it was great fun. I mean, people learned a lot from this.
Yeah, I really hope that everybody enjoyed. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it was fantastic, and also although we couldn't reach the aim of 20K on YouTube, I think maybe the people who will watch it later on YouTube because they can see it.
Yes, I will actually make today's videos into YouTube content. So I appreciate it already. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for subbing to me on YouTube.
Yeah. And how is your usual day like? Do you stream every day?
Yeah, I stream every day. I usually stream around like 4 p.m. like Toronto time, like 3 or 4 p.m. Toronto time until basically whenever I get tired. Yeah.
Really?
Yes. So I stream a lot. I stream like 7-8 hours a day usually.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
So like every day you start, it's like a job, right? I mean,
it is like a full-time job. I mean, that's why I dropped out of school for, right? So I better be taking it like a full-time job.
So is chess a part of any day of stream, or have you planned every day of your streaming?
So usually I always stream chess. I think on a regular basis, every single day, I'm sure I stream chess. There are actually some occasional days where I just don't feel like I'm too tired, and I'll just end up like doing like a podcast with my friends or something. That happens too, or like where I just play like video games. But like most of the days I start with chess, do whatever it is I have planned for that day, whether it's with somebody else or if I just wanted to play chess that day. And then I'll go play, like League of Legends or poker or something like that. Sometimes I start with poker too. It all really depends on my mood. But recently I've started planning out my streams a lot more because it helps me actually have a schedule. Like the other day, I was like sleeping and I was supposed to stream, but my friend just like I was just asleep because I didn't have anything planned, right? And he just called me. I was like, yo, wake up, like come on, let's stream. And I was like, okay, cool, I'll come stream right now. So actually it's really awesome to have people that motivate me to stream like specifically on like specific days, because I stream every day, but it's not always with content that is like kind of like sometimes I'll just like
You just
chess.com,
just start it and then it flows, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes like I just start and it flows, but I really like the days where I do content as well.
Oh, tremendous.
Yeah.
And you like what's your aim with streaming?
Okay, so I think with every streamer, the goals are kind of the same. Just trying to become,
Bigger, yeah.
a bigger streamer. I think that's always one of our goals, but I think personally for myself, it's sort of like just creating a really solid foundation so that I don't feel bad about dropping out of school. Because if I want this to be like, my entire future, right? I mean, I took like a gap year, but in reality, I want to
You want to do
stay.
this. So basically, even after
Mhm.
doing this for the last 8 months or so,
Yeah.
you are like, this seems to be your way rather than going back to school.
Yeah, for sure. I would much rather stay in
But
esports
why
than chess.
is it like, because in school also you're doing really well, right? I mean, you were
Yeah, but I don't think it matters if you do really well if you don't enjoy it. I think at the end of the day, it's a lot about what do you want to do with, like, if you're not happy with what you're doing, obviously there's a lot of societal pressure, and my parents are like, please go back to school, and I'm like, I don't want to go back to school. So I always have this in the back of my mind that like if I don't succeed in what I'm doing now, like I'm gonna face the consequences, right? Like if I don't. So that's why I think I want to work really, really hard on streaming, on YouTube, on every single thing that can make streaming a success. So I think that's for me like my most important part. I mean, school is fine. School is kind of like whatever, but if you're like indifferent about doing something, like maybe that's not what you should do. Yeah.
Tremendous. And I think there are several chess players who are now full-time streamers, but I think you are the first one whom I met and whom I have had this discussion with, because in India, although there are many streamers who have started streaming in the lockdown, I don't think any one of them is full-time into streaming. Like streaming is something they do in addition to something else. Like some of them are players, some of them are trainers, some of them there are also comedians who have started,
Sure, yes, of course.
And so it's very inspiring that every day you have to do this. And are there days when you feel like not pressing that go live button?
There's not a single day on which I don't press the go live button or I don't feel like streaming. I think I absolutely love streaming. And I think it's really rare in life to find something that you're so passionate about, right? I think a lot of the time people spend like half of their life looking for something they really want to do. And like nothing against people who like love school. I have friends who love school and I just never understood why they love school. I'm just like, I don't understand. Like, how can you do this every single day and have a smile on your face? Because when I do school, I'm just like, please, when is the next vacation? Like, I need a week off. And it's totally cool. Like, I respect that so much. I think, but at the end of the day, people are just different. And it's okay to be different as long as you're not like throwing your life away. I think that's the most important part, because there's a very big difference between doing nothing and not doing school versus not doing school and trying to still make a future for yourself. Because I'm definitely like, I mean, I definitely want to get my degree someday. It's just streaming is a momentum thing. So you kind of have to do it now. Otherwise you lose a lot of your momentum. You lose a lot of and if it's something that I'm this passionate about, then I think it's better if I just do it now,
Right, right. And
Yeah.
you do have to spend a lot of time with your editors also, right? I mean, once you stream, because they will make the edits, and on YouTube they have to put it up.
So yeah, I do have editors. I don't actually spend a lot of time talking with them. Sometimes a lot of time I actually edit my own videos because I'm still
Oh.
kind of going through the process of
You
finding
you edit
editors.
your own videos after streaming for 8 hours.
Yeah, pretty much. I spend anytime I'm not sleeping, I'm probably working on streaming. If I'm not working on streaming, I'm probably playing League of Legends, which is like a game I'm really trying to improve at, or I'm playing poker. So I think, like, apart from sleep, 90% of my life is just revolving around my streaming.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. We should have a new I should send you new set of questions, because the previous one is now we have to scrap it off.
Yes, yeah, it's totally different. My whole life has just changed. Now, if you read my interview from even a year ago, it's so different. I mean, life changes fast, Life changes really fast. I think one of the biggest issue these days that I struggle with as a streamer is obviously looking at like your stats and like your numerics and being like, okay, so if it's going at this trend, like, am I gonna be still a streamer? Like, I think all of
Don't
it
you get
revolves.
stressed out by looking at these numbers? Oh, today I had only
I
so
mean,
many people watching, or today I have gained only so many followers, and something like that.
yeah, you do get stressed, but if you don't put yourself through that stress, you're not going to improve, right? Because I think at the end of the day, if you have something that you're willing to work towards, you have to be willing to take the criticism that comes with it. Um, and that's just life. Like, it's not just school. You get grades from school. That's an indication. From streaming, it's just a different set of statistics.
Oh, okay, yeah. It's like grade. Oh, never thought of it that way. Like in school, you
Yeah.
have grades, here you have these statistics. Very
Yeah,
cool.
for sure.
Well, Nemo, it was a pleasure. First of all, talking with you, learning openings, and in the end, all of this, uh, discussions we had. I'm sure that there is someone watching there who might be thinking of becoming a full-time streamer, and would
I don't want anybody to be like, oh yes, it's gonna work out for you 100% if you just drop out of school, because that's not true. That is not true. But what I want to tell people is that, hey, look, if there's something you really, really are passionate about doing, and you think that, and preferably your family also thinks that you have the potential to actually do it, because there's a difference between being like, oh, hey, I can just do this. Life is never like that, right? I mean, I might go back to school some point. I never know. You never know. But it's always about keeping your options open and being open-minded to choices in life that are not what they were 20 years ago, because the world is changing so fast every single day. There's just so many new career opportunities coming up, like,
Yeah,
there's
no one thought
always.
that streaming would be like a career option. I don't know how big it is there, but
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah, who knows? But it's okay. It's okay to sometimes, take a little leap of faith.
On that note, Nemo, thank you so much for joining us, and hope to do some streams with you in future as well.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me today. And I hope everybody has a great day. All right.
Bye.
See you.
Bye. See
Bye.
you. Wow, that was amazing. I mean, she is such a strong player. She's a WGM. She was a former world youth champion. Then she did her. She was trying to do double uh, degree in statistics and mathematics, and at the end of it, now she's a streamer, and she's doing it with so much passion every day. doing it, getting up every day, streaming for 6 to 7 hours. Wow, it's just tremendous, tremendous. Joy Datta, I think I missed one of your previous super chats. Just let me, and you all also have sent me one more right now, just so that you guys can see this. Perk and Dragon look similar in structure. Can you please explain the difference in move sequence and how it impacts the further line? Okay, got it. So Joy, the thing is that if you play e4, d6, d4, knight f6, knight c3, g6, this is perk or pirks. But if you play e4, c5, knight f3, d6, and then you play knight f6, g6, bg7 castles, this is the dragon. So you see, because of the pawn on c5, you have more control on the center, which is the reason why the dragon is supposed to be a much more respected opening than the perk. Yeah, if you want to play more aggressively, then dragon is the option. But as we mentioned last time, perk is not a bad opening. You can just play and it looks good. And one more super chat is Joy Datta. Amazing stream, Sagar. This is a stream I will keep revisiting for reference as I'm trying different openings. Catch you up in the next stream. Good night. Thank you, Joy. Thank you so much, chat, for supporting Nemo, for subscribing to her channel up there. She was very kind to come on stream and show you some new ideas, and you guys were very kind to subscribe to her channel. She had, if I'm not mistaken, 18.7 subscribers before this stream began, and now she has 19.7. So that's 1,000 of you who went there and subscribed to her. So thank you so much for doing that. It means a lot. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Maybe there will be a classic stream, but I'll decide. But take care and see you soon. Bye bye. And do subscribe and like the stream. Bye. Oh, Sama is live. Oh, let's raid Sama, no? Shall we do that? I didn't know Samay was live. Okay, let's try to raid Samay. But he might be swearing on stream, so I don't want to keep. Oh no! Oh, there are some other people on the chat. Let's see what's happening.
Ved Bargea, like real structured, sentences, things like that. Okay. Better place for my queen. I don't know.
Samay Rena is.
Shaurya is asking, do you plan on any tours after COVID? Have you anything in plan? Do you have anything planned?
The more you talk, Samai, the worse I'm gonna do. This is part of the strategy. Touring is really up in the air. Like there's nothing being planned at the moment.
Oh, it's a members only chat, so you can't.
Yeah, you had a little tactic there. I saw. I was almost got me.
Yeah, knight c2 check, no?
Yeah. Okay, I will just kick.
Okay. I don't want you to.
It's also he has so many people watching already, so there's no need to raid. And also it's a members only stream, so great that Sama is back to streaming. Very happy. And guys, you can go there, watch that stream, and good night. Take care. Bye bye.